Chapter 1260. After Lu Pingfeng escaped from Li Zongjiu's evil clutches, he returned to his own sect without hesitation. The outside world was too dangerous. If he was not careful, he would be annihilated. Therefore, Lu Pingfeng was quite shocked. He immediately sent someone to check on the Cold Blood sect. One must know that the great elder of the Cold Blood sect was dead. Moreover, the great elder was the son of the sect master. A father-son duo like this was very rare. It wasn't easy for them to work together. Originally, this father-son duo from the Cold Blood sect was already quite powerful. Now that Zhao Leng had died, Zhao Han definitely wouldn't be able to sit still. Of course, Lu Pingfeng had to seize this opportunity. Sure enough, Lu Pingfeng managed to get some important news. However, the person who sent the message did not see clearly who was the culprit. When he heard that there was a commotion here, he immediately summoned Lu Pingfeng. After that, when Lu Pingfeng returned and saw this scene, he clearly understood that it must have been done by the legendary evil dominator. Only this evil dominator could do such a thing. Previously, when he heard that someone killed the 3 old men of the Compassionate Cloud Saint sect, it was quite shocking. After all, although the 3 old men were very ambitious, they did not have much ability. However, the 3 of them worked very hard. They could be considered as role models in the cultivation world of the untainted land. Unfortunately, their talent was too poor. Therefore, they often became the topic of conversation after meals. Now they were killed. These people did not do anything outrageous, but they were suddenly killed without any reason. Naturally, the Compassionate Cloud Saint sect was directly destroyed. It was said that the formation was also destroyed. Therefore, it would not take long for the mountain gate to be flattened by the giant beasts of the untainted land. Today, the Cold Blood sect had been beaten to such a state by someone. Everything that had happened before and after was completely unexpected. Who exactly did this? Why did they do this? Could it be that some great devil had appeared? Lu Pingfeng, just now, who did you say did this? Someone heard Lu Pingfeng's words and immediately went forward to ask. Obviously, Lu Pingfeng knew something. It was done by someone called Evil Lord. Not only that, this Evil Lord killed Zhao Leng of the Blood Frost sect with a single sword strike. When they heard about Evil Lord's terrifying strength, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Killing Zhao Leng with a single sword strike was indeed a little terrifying. Is this true? Someone asked directly. It wasn't that they didn't believe Lu Pingfeng's words. It was just that this matter was too shocking, and they needed to verify it again. I saw it with my own eyes, Lu Pingfeng said. Only then did the crowd understand that a great demon had appeared in the untainted land. And this demon loved to destroy sects in this way. We must unite and capture this evil lord. Otherwise, who knows what this evil lord will do? Someone suggested. However, this suggestion was quickly drowned out, because no one was willing to be the leader. No one was willing to rush to the front. Otherwise, the person who rushed to the front would naturally be the one who died the quickest. The people at the back saw that the situation wasn't good, so it wasn't difficult for them to escape. However, the leader of the group would definitely die. Facing this kind of responsibility and pressure, naturally no one was willing to do so. Moreover, the most important thing was that this evil dominator didn't provoke them. It wouldn't be too late for them to come back when he really killed them. This principle was the same no matter where one went. It wouldn't change the slightest. In the face of the miserable state of the Blood Frost sect, the crowd only observed carefully and then left directly. They could only mourn for this. Although they were all in the untainted land and more or less had a competitive relationship with each other, they had been neighbors for many years. In any case, they had been neighbors for so many years and had feelings for each other. However, it was limited to this. Li Zongjiu and Su Wangshan directly flew for hundreds of thousands of miles. They were chased by several giant beasts of the untainted land. However, they were all chased away by Li Zongjiu. They had accidentally intruded into their territory. Although Su Wangshan had reminded Li Zongjiu and suggested to take a detour so that there wouldn't be so many problems, it would at least save a lot of trouble. However, with Li Zongjiu's temper, he wouldn't give way to these untainted primordial beasts. After all, some of these untainted primordial beasts were quite powerful. Their strength was not inferior to the dark mysterious eagle. In the end, Li Zongjiu helplessly called out to them. Ahem, let's take a detour. There's no hurry. Li Zongjiu hadn't reached the level where he could move unhindered in the untainted land. If he had the cultivation of his previous life, it would be possible. However, his current state was still lacking. If there were more untainted primordial beasts of that level, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. It should be known that these untainted primordial beasts knew how to call their companions. If they were called together and gathered together, the problem would be even more serious. After taking a detour, it took them half a day to arrive at the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Along the way, Su Wangshan also witnessed Li Zongjiu's terrifying strength. Even several untainted primordial beasts were caught and beaten by Li Zongjiu along the way. Su Wangshan was quite surprised and extremely shocked by this. Even taking a detour was a very normal thing. In Su Wangshan's view, it was not a big deal. The location of the Mountain Sea Pavilion was considered the border of the middle area of the untainted land. It had already left the green forest. Looking around, there were endless wild mountains and forests. Any mountain peak was thousands of feet high. There were snowy mountains, volcanoes, and some mines filled with mineral resources. Even gold and purple gold mines were relatively worthless in this place. Only the loads of yuan stones were slightly more valuable. The Mountain Sea Pavilion was located at the top of a mountain that was nearly 2,000 feet high. The whole mountain was also covered by the formation of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Within this formation, it was enough to disperse the surrounding untainted primordial beasts and prevent them from discovering the location of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Such an effect was due to the powerful formations created by the ancestors of the Mountain Sea Pavilion, not to mention that ordinary people from the outside world found the untainted land. Even if they did, they couldn't climb the mountain gate of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Therefore, the situation here and the harsh environment were also a great test for Kuan Erishur, who had entered the untainted land. It would probably take him 8 to 10 years to reach the Yunding Heavenly Palace. Chapter 1261. Li Zongjiu originally wanted to help Kuan Erishur, but on second thought, if he were to help Kuan Erishur now, the gap between Kuan Erishur and Shueiyue would still be huge, even in the cloud-top sky palace. If Kuan Erishur couldn't break through on his own, he would only be left further and further behind by Shueiyue. Only by continuously climbing up would he have a chance to succeed. The location of your sect is pretty good. Li Zongjiu and Su Wangshan's figures landed. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu didn't get too involved with the sects of the untainted land and didn't have much interaction with them. He also rarely visited the sects of the untainted land. Some of them were even lone wolves, roaming the depths of the untainted land. But if he didn't remember wrongly, Dou Ling-er's family should be one of the hidden aristocratic families in the untainted land. Her background was even greater than that of the Eastern medicine family of the Xingyan dynasty. One had to know that the Howling Moon Wolf King was still in Dou Ling-er's hands. He didn't know if he would be able to meet Dou Ling-er this time in the untainted land. Originally, this lass was helping to guard the White Deer Mansion, but she actually escaped with the Howling Moon Wolf King. Wouldn't Li Zongjiu lose everything? After finding Qi Yanran, he would have to make a trip to Dou Ling-er's family. At the very least, he had to get the Howling Moon Wolf King back. Haha, you're too kind. Coincidentally, there's a primordial stone vein below, so the primordial qi in my Mountain Sea Pavilion is several times denser than the outside world. It's also thanks to this formation that the primordial qi won't disperse. Su Wangshan said. At the same time, he was carefully sizing up Li Zongjiu to see if Li Zongjiu had any ideas about the primordial stone vein in his hands. If that was the case, he would be inviting a wolf into his house. But fortunately, Li Zongjiu didn't seem to have much interest in this thing. Find me an open space, Li Zongjiu said. Other than my 3 halls, the rest of the place should be empty. At this moment, the two of them were standing on an extremely vast platform. After the mountain peak was flattened, there was at least a few hundred feet of open space. All right then. Since he had said so, Li Zongjiu no longer held back and immediately released the soul-burning array in his hand. Boom! Boom! The 8 burning soul pillars appeared in front of He Xian. When the pillars landed on the ground, they immediately gave He Xian a huge pressure. Although he had also been roasted in the fiery hell, He Xian was much more relaxed. After all, the world within the fiery hell had yet to fully take shape. Hence, the burning soul array still felt like it was floating in mid-air. When the 8 burning soul pillars landed on the ground, they felt like they had taken root. Instantly, their power became even more vigorous. Boom! Inside the soul-burning array, He Xian was also extremely furious. Brat, you're digging your own grave. Once I get out, you'll die. At this moment, He Xian was just being stubborn. Li Zhongjiu looked at He Xian, who was trapped in the array, with disdain. Do you think that I don't have the ability to refine you? Immediately, Li Zhongjiu smiled coldly. When He Xian saw Li Zhongjiu's smile, he could not help but be shocked. In the next moment, he did not know what kind of array Li Zhongjiu used. He directly drew the energy of the primordial stone mine from the bottom of the mountain and instantly added it to the soul-burning array. It was as if a huge gust of wind was poured into a dense furnace. Immediately, the flames burned even more vigorously. The power of the soul-burning array also became stronger. Roar! The emergence of this power caused He Xian, who was in the soul-burning array, to scream in pain. This was because this power had increased by at least 5 times. Correspondingly, the time needed to refine He Xian was shortened. At this level, He Xian would definitely be refined in less than 5 years. More importantly, He Xian would also have to bear the heat of this energy all the time for 5 years. This also caused He Xian great pain. You're despicable and shameless. If you have the ability, let's fight one-on-one. He Xian roared angrily. Su Wangshan, who was watching from the side, was also quite distressed. Mainly, he was distressed about the energy of his primordial stone mine. If he continued to draw the energy like this, it would not take long for his primordial stone mine to be completely drained. However, Su Wangshan was not in a position to say anything. After all, Li Zong was very powerful. What could he do? Some of the disciples in the Mountain Sea Pavilion also sensed the commotion outside and immediately flew out. When they saw their sect master and a young man standing in front of the 8 strange pillars, they were quite surprised to see such a formation. It seemed that the pillars formed a formation, and there was a very powerful primordial beast trapped in this formation. However, the formation was full of black gas, so the appearance of the primordial beast could not be seen clearly. Welcome back to the sect, Lord. Welcome back to the sect, Lord. The leader was a handsome young man with double eyelids, big eyes, and a high nose bridge. The corners of his mouth involuntarily curled upwards, seemingly revealing a sense of confidence and arrogance. It was as if no one in the world was more handsome than him. This person was also the chief disciple of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. He was also the personal disciple of Gu Xingyun, who was killed before. Gu Xingyun couldn't take the position of the sect lord himself, so he wanted to train a disciple to take the position of the sect lord. Even this young man named Jin Tian kept telling him that he was the future sect lord of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Well, come and greet Senior Evil Lord. Because of Gu Xingyun's matter, Su Wangshan did not have a good impression of Jin Tian. After all, Gu Xingyun had been plotting against the Mountain Sea Pavilion and had directly colluded with outsiders. This was a big taboo for the Mountain Sea Pavilion. It would be best if Jin Tian was not involved. However, if Jin Tian was involved in this matter, he would definitely be in big trouble. Senior Evil Lord? Who was Jin Tian? He was the dignified chief disciple of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. In the future, he would become the pavilion master of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Among the young talents of the untainted land, Jin Tian would definitely have a place, and even a very high position. However, Li Zhongjiu in front of him looked quite young, many years younger than Jin Tian. What kind of ability could he have at such a young age? Why did Jin Tian have to respectfully address him as a senior? This made Jin Tian somewhat unwilling, but in front of so many people, he naturally had to give face to his lord. I'm Jin Tian, the chief disciple of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Greetings to Senior Evil Lord. May I know which sect you are from, Senior Evil Lord? Chapter 1262. Jin Tian believed that with his talent and his current status, although he was only a disciple, it was enough to be compared with the elders. After all, the elders of Mountain Sea Pavilion were very polite when they saw Jin Tian. This also caused Jin Tian to have the illusion that he was on equal footing with the elders of other sections. Therefore, in front of Li Zongjiu, Jin Tian actually dared to say such presumptuous words. Presumptuous? How dare you talk to the evil lord like that? Su Wangshan immediately angrily rebuked. He couldn't wait to directly smash Jin Tian's head. He didn't know who gave Jin Tian the courage to be so arrogant. Even Su Wangshan didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of Li Zongjiu. However, this kid was clearly provoking Li Zongjiu just now. There was really such a person who was not afraid of death. Your name is Jin Tian, right? Then stay here and help me keep an eye on this guy. When this guy is willing to tell me who is behind him, you can come and call me. Li Zongjiu directly said. Jin Tian was first scolded by his own sect master. And now this Li Zongjiu actually dared to order him. He simply didn't put Jin Tian in his eyes. I, Jin Tian, am the chief disciple of Mountain Sea Pavilion. I told you to stay here and keep an eye on him. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Su Wangshan suddenly frowned and said, this Jin Tian really talked a lot of nonsense. Did he think that he was someone important? He actually dared to be arrogant in front of Li Zongjiu. Yes, sect master. Since even Su Wangshan had spoken, Jin Tian naturally didn't dare to say anything. He couldn't possibly disobey the sect master. If that was the case, Jin Tian would definitely be expelled from the sect. In front of Su Wangshan, he didn't have the slightest qualification to be arrogant. Li Zongjiu directly walked in front of this chief disciple, and this chief disciple could only obediently stay here and watch the situation of the array in front of him. Is this person trapped inside? Jin Tian was also quite curious as he looked ahead, but he saw that the inside of the burning soul array was also pitch black. When Jin Tian got closer and closer, suddenly, it seemed as if a terrifying giant beast was about to come out of the burning soul array, and it fiercely rushed out, directly scaring Jin Tian. Fuck! Scared me to death. Jin Tian was frightened by the aura of the Dark Xian Hawk. It was as if the Dark Xian Hawk was here to take his life. Just a glance from it was enough to make Jin Tian feel like his soul was about to scatter. How can such a terrifying thing be trapped here? You guys, stay here with me, don't go anywhere. If Jin Tian was left alone to guard this place, he would definitely be terrified. Immediately, Jin Tian also quickly grabbed a few people to guard the soul-burning array. However, these people were also as timid as mice. Each of them used various excuses and directly ran away in the blink of an eye. A group of disappointing things. Seeing the cowardly appearance of these people, Jin Tian was quite angry, although he also wanted to leave. But once the sect lord blamed him, then he would be miserable. The sect lord's order couldn't be easily disobeyed. In the end, Jin Tian could only hide in the distance while shivering. The dark mysterious eagle that was trapped in the soul-burning array sneered coldly in its heart when it saw Jin Tian's frightened appearance. It seemed to have thought of something, and its figure once again disappeared into the darkness, making Jin Tian unable to see anything clearly. Li Zongjiu and Su Wangshan walked into the main hall of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. After waiting for a while, Su Wangshan also went to take the primeval raw stone for Li Zongjiu. With these two primeval raw stones, the King of Fire's recovery speed would be faster, greatly reducing the time needed. In addition to these primeval raw stones, there is also this sky-penetrating mirror. So many things happen this time because of this sky-penetrating mirror. Senior Evil Lord, are you interested in studying it together? Su Wangshan invited. It was precisely because of this sky-penetrating mirror that he asked Li Zongjiu to help him. Otherwise, this sky-penetrating mirror would not be able to reach Su Wangshan's hands. In fact, the reason why Su Wangshan attacked the sky-penetrating mirror was that Su Wangshan himself also knew the secret of this sky-penetrating mirror. Su Wangshan also had a certain understanding of this sky-penetrating mirror. I'm not interested. If you have obtained something from this sacred martial realm, you can show it to me. Li Zongjiu said. To be honest, there were many things in this world that were worth studying, It was not clear whether he would be able to find out anything in the end. Therefore, Li Zongjie would not waste so much time. After all, Li Zongjie still had a lot of things to do. Since Li Zongjie was not interested, Su Wangshan was relieved. After all, Li Zongjie was very strong. If he studied this sky-penetrating mirror together with him, coupled with his lack of knowledge, the progress of the research might be delayed. It was best to leave the professional things to the professionals. Immediately, Li Zongjie went to the side happily and catalyzed the primeval raw stone first. "I'll stay in your mountain sea pavilion for a few days," Li Zongjie said. "It's my pleasure. Feel free to stay. If you need anything, just tell me at any time." Su Wangshan was also pleasantly surprised. It was always good to have such an expert live in the mountain sea pavilion. After all, it was not safe every day in the untainted land. In addition, Li Zongjie was in the mountain sea pavilion, so he could communicate more with him. If he could persuade Li Zongjie to take care of him in the mountain sea pavilion, it would be a great deal. Su Wangshan was also surprised. Li Zongjie was also arranged to live in a very unique courtyard. However, Li Zongjie summoned the matchless sword and refined the primeval raw stone without stopping. The power of the unparalleled sword was gradually being released at this moment. It attracted the emergence of dark clouds in the sky and gathered on the mountain top of the mountain sea pavilion. It made people think that something terrible was about to be born. When Su Wangshan saw this scene, he could not help but sigh. He really deserved to be called a top expert. Just a daily practice could cause such a big movement. How could people live? The area within tens of thousands of miles was covered with yellow sand. The matchless sword in Li Zongjie's hand released a powerful aura, which almost caused a sandstorm of tens of thousands of miles. Jin Tian, who was in charge of guarding the burning soul array, was also shocked when he saw such a huge fluctuation suddenly formed above the mountain sea pavilion. He quickly sent someone to investigate the situation, and was informed that the senior evil venerable was in the middle of cultivating, and had caused this disturbance. Damn! What kind of practice can cause such a big movement? Jin Tian couldn't believe it himself. Even if he tried his best, it was impossible for him to create such a terrifying commotion in the morning. Indeed, Jin Tian was thoroughly shocked. No wonder the sect master was so cautious around that kid. His strength was not simple at all. This evil lord, where did he come from? He is even more powerful than me. In the courtyard, there was also energy gathering on the matchless sword. The figure of the King of Fire could be seen vaguely. At least, he could get out of the world of the matchless sword. Seeing this change, Li Zongjie heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. At least he had accomplished one of his goals. The dark mysterious eagle is in the 9th grade sovereign realm. Being able to mobilize a 9th grade sovereign realm origin beast means that its strength is not weak. But according to Su Wangshan, even the top 3 primitive sects could not reach such a level. It must be someone else. Li Zongjie was also thinking about this matter. It seemed that there were more terrifying existences in the primitive land. Perhaps, the dark mysterious eagle was following the orders of the sacred martial realm. I need to make a breakthrough soon. I have been stuck at this level for some time. Since Su Wangshan had said that Li Zongjie could let him know if he needed anything, Li Zongjie would not stand on ceremony. He directly asked for some 8th grade medicinal herbs from Su Wangshan's treasury. There were even some 9th grade medicinal herbs. After all, there were too many resources in the primitive land. As long as one had enough strength, there was basically nothing that could not be obtained. I still lack one medicinal herb, the Underworld Enlightenment Leaf. Chapter 1263. Underworld Leaf. The growing environment of this plant could not be described as harsh. It could only be found in the Netherworld Canyon, one of the top 10 forbidden areas of the Untainted Land. Originally, the Untainted Land was already a forbidden area for cultivators. Now it was a forbidden area within a forbidden area. It could be seen that the degree of danger was not something that could be imagined just by imagination. The reason he was in such a hurry to increase his strength and the unparalleled sword was because he wanted to find the location of the Sparrow God Palace. There was no doubt that if he wanted to come into contact with such a hidden sect, It was impossible to rely on reason alone. He had to make a move. Therefore, he needed to make sufficient preparations. You really want to go to the Netherworld Canyon? Hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Su Wangshan was completely convinced. Could it be that after these people's cultivation reached a high level, they would think of different ways to kill themselves earlier every day? What kind of place was the Netherworld Canyon? Those who had the courage to come to the untainted land might not have the courage to come within 1,000 feet of the Netherworld Canyon. It was said that even the strongest cultivators could easily go crazy in the Netherworld Canyon. He had inexplicably turned into a madman. This matter was quite shocking. Moreover, this theory was proven to work every time. No matter who came, their end would be the same. Many sects had sent their experts to try it. Thus, they were clearly aware that they could not rashly enter the Nether Canyon. Moreover, it had been directly listed as a forbidden area. It was even to the extent that the area within 10,000 feet was a dangerous area. Only by retreating 10,000 feet away from this area would they not encounter any problems and be able to preserve their lives. Before I come back, keep an eye on the soul-burning formation, Li Zhongjiu immediately said. Su Wangshan could not help but worry. I say, if something bad happens to you, this formation will be fine, right? Su Wangshan was worried. If Li Zhongjiu was killed by someone, this thing would be directly damaged. Once the formation was broken, who would be able to stop the dark mysterious eagle? At that time, all the people of the Mountain Sea Pavilion would be killed. From the looks of it, the dark black eagle didn't seem to be a very amiable person. Who knows what might happen? However, Li Zhongjiu did not answer Su Wangshan's question, because Li Zhongjiu had already disappeared and appeared far away. Nobody knew how big the untainted land was, but one could see all kinds of landforms in the untainted land. Everything one wanted to see could be seen here. There were even some places that were extremely breathtaking. However, under such places, there were often bone-chilling murderous intents. Netherworld Canyon. At this moment the sky was still brightly lit. However, as they approached the Nether Canyon, the sky began to darken. Layers of dark clouds had already appeared in the sky ahead. Layer upon layer, it gave off an extremely heavy feeling of pressure. It was simply impossible to breathe. Just by looking at the cloud environment, one could tell that there must be some kind of terrifying danger in it. No one would be willing to enter the Netherworld Canyon. However, Li Zhongjiu did not hesitate and directly plunged into the Netherworld Canyon. As his figure moved, he immediately appeared in the Netherworld Canyon. Within the range of 1,000 feet, a heavy oppressive feeling had already spread to Li Zhongjiu's body. It was as if a giant was stepping on Li Zhongjiu's chest. The golden dragon true spirit in his body also mobilized and released a protective golden light on his body, ensuring that Li Zhongjiu could move normally during this process. Boom! When he was less than 100 feet away from the Netherworld Canyon, Li Zhongjiu was also forced to land. The stone under his feet had a black ink-like feeling. When he stepped on it, he felt that it was greasy. It was even directly stuck to the soles of his feet, making it difficult for him to lift his feet from it. Li Zhongjiu did not dare to be careless. Holding the unparalleled sword in his hand, a golden light flashed in his eyes. Immediately, the pressure on his body was reduced by a lot. Although walking forward was a little slow, it could ensure his own safety. Otherwise, if he rushed in rashly in such a flying state, he would definitely encounter danger. Once he encountered it, it would be difficult to carry out an effective defense. The reason why the Netherworld Canyon was famous far and wide was because there was a group of extremely terrifying aboriginals in the Netherworld Canyon. Those who had seen them were basically dead. However, according to some extremely small number of stars, the people in the outside world were used to calling them the Netherworld Night Devils. These Netherworld Night Devils had sharp bone claws and moved quickly. Moreover, there was a large number of them. They occupied the caves in the cliffs on both sides. When these Netherworld Night Devils moved, it was like a black storm. Moreover, these Netherworld Night Devils had sharp bone claws that could easily penetrate the defense of a supreme being expert. Perhaps one or two of them could withstand it. However, if there were hundreds or even thousands of them attacking at the same time, it would be extremely terrifying. Even if one had a top-notch defensive armor, they might not be able to guarantee that they would die in one piece. On the cliff not far ahead, the Netherworld Night Devils had already sensed the aura of Li Zongjiu's arrival. What followed was an extremely terrifying vibration. Immediately, a terrifying aura rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Boom! Li Zongjiu raised the unparalleled sword in his hand. Before he even got close, he already felt an extremely strong sense of fear. Not only did these Netherworld Night Devils have powerful offensive power, but they also had a certain level of bewitching sound. If a person with a weak mind was hit by these bewitching voices, he would definitely fall into a state of absent-mindedness and truly lose himself. Then, they would be easily torn apart by these Netherworld Night Devils. Boom! These Netherworld Night Devils easily pierced through Li Zongjiu's body. Rumble! A series of Netherworld Night Devils rushed out, but they directly pierced through Li Zongjiu's body. It turned out that this was just a shadow left behind by Li Zongjiu. For ordinary people, these Netherworld Night Devils were extremely terrifying killers. However, Li Zongjiu had already dealt with these Netherworld Night Devils countless times. Now, he only needed to use a little trick to play these Netherworld Night Devils. Li Zongjiu caught a Netherworld Night Devil that was alone. Before it could break free, he directly pierced it with his sword. He sprinkled the Netherworld Night Devil's blood on his body. Then he swaggered in the Netherworld Canyon. The surrounding Netherworld Night Devils acted as if they had never seen Li Zongjiu before. Performing this move was not so simple. In addition to the blood, one also needed to release mental energy to cover their aura. At the same time, they also needed to use mental energy to create a kind of fluctuation similar to the Netherworld Night Devil's body. It was easy to dodge. In fact, these Netherworld Night Devils were like blind people. They all relied on this mental fluctuation to find the existence of the enemy. As long as this fluctuation came close, they would be able to quickly discover it. Once he was dragged into the cave by these Netherworld Night Devils, everything would be over. Such a terrifying Netherworld Night Devil swayed by Li Zongjiu. If it was someone else, they would be unable to help but feel fear. Even if they had a way to dodge, they might not be able to survive until the end. Li Zongjiu even released his mental energy and began to search for the underworld dark leaf in the vicinity. Found it. A picture suddenly appeared in Li Zongjiu's mind. The underworld dark leaf was hidden in the depths of a cave in front of him. However, this cave made Li Zongjiu quite troubled. There was a Netherworld Night Devil King in this cave. Chapter 1264. Ordinary Hades Night Devils would automatically be deceived, and even this Hades Night Devil King was in a state of deep sleep. However, once Li Zongjiu approached, this Hades Night Devil King would be awakened. Any Hades Night Devil King had the realm of an 8th grade sovereign. Once they attacked, it would definitely be earth-shattering. At that time, Li Zongjiu might not be able to get out alive. During the battle, if there was the slightest abnormality in Li Zongjiu's mental strength, these Hades Night Devils would definitely detect it and attack him without hesitation. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu leaped and landed on the mountain wall. It was extremely dark inside, but it could not stop Li Zongjiu's footsteps. No matter how dangerous the situation was, he had to go down. With this underworld leaf, Li Zongjiu could refine a 9th grade elixir, the 9 Nether Elixir. After consuming it, one would be able to resonate with the heavens and earth 9 times during cultivation. Moreover, each time would be stronger than the previous time. Usually, it was an elixir that experts would only consume when they were breaking through a major bottleneck. With the help of the 9 times, one's strength would be able to break through the current limit. However, Li Zongjiu only wanted to use it for daily consumption. It was a little too extravagant. As his figure disappeared into the cave, the surrounding smell must be quite heavy. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had long held his breath and blocked his sense of smell. The deeper he went into the cave, the more spacious it became. The Hades Night Devils outside were still circling around, because the few fake doppelgangers that Li Zongjiu had just thrown out were enough to keep these Hades Night Devils busy for a while. Once they sensed the aura of other creatures, these Hades Night Devils would become extremely excited, making it difficult for people to resist. It's actually right next to the Hades Night Devil King's lair. Li Zhongjiu saw the 10,000 underworld leaf growing beside the Netherworld Night Devil King. At this moment, the Netherworld Night Devil King had wrapped itself into a ball. Its wings were in front of its body, protecting the body under the wings. Not even its head was exposed. The underworld leaf only had one leaf, but it would take at least 10,000 years for it to grow. The untainted land had existed for a long time. According to Li Zhongjiu's observation, the underworld leaf in front of him was at least 100,000 years old. What a good thing! Li Zhongjiu set up an array around the cave, using the highest grade primordial stones to set up the array. Then Li Zhongjiu also took out the peerless sword. There was no way to hide, so he could only fight. Boom! When Li Zhongjiu circulated his primordial energy and slashed at the Netherworld Night Devil King in front of him, the Netherworld Night Devil King opened its eyes in the darkness and flapped its wings forward. Boom! An extremely terrifying force directly bombarded Li Zhongjiu's body, but Li Zhongjiu blocked it. With a single slash of the sword, the terrifying sword aura continued to sweep forward. Boom! When the sword slashed forward, there was an extremely terrifying vibration. The rocks above the mountain seemed to have fallen down at this moment. An extremely powerful sound wave was released from the mouth of the Netherworld Night Devil King. Even though Li Zhongjiu was prepared, he was still sent flying by the impact of the sound wave. He was almost blasted out of the cave. Break for me! With a slash of his sword, the scorching sword Qi engulfed the Netherworld Night Devil King. The scorching sword Qi forced the Netherworld Night Devil King to retreat. The Netherworld Night Devil King also retreated abruptly. With a slash of his sword, the Netherworld Night Devils circling outside heard the call of their king. Immediately, they rushed back to their cave. However, when these Netherworld Night Devils rushed into the cave, their bodies seemed to have stopped moving. They were unwilling to move, and were trapped in Li Zhongjiu's array. Looking back at the Netherworld Night Devils, who were as still as statues, Li Zhongjiu heaved a sigh of relief. If these things rushed in, it would be really troublesome. However, the array in front of him could only last for 3 minutes at most. For him, time was also very limited. Dragon Soul. Crush it! The blood dragon soul burst out from Li Zhongjiu's body. At the same time, Li Zhongjiu used the black dragon hammer in his hand and smashed it fiercely at the claws of the Netherworld Night Devil King. Boom! The two moves were used at the same time, but the Netherworld Night Devil King was not afraid at all. It stared directly at the thunderous power of the black dragon hammer, entangled with the blood dragon soul. In the next moment, the golden dragon soul also appeared, and directly stepped on the head of the Netherworld Night Devil King. It coiled around the Netherworld Night Devil King's body, and even burst out with a loud noise when it exerted its strength. Boom! A series of tremors and explosions were everywhere. However, at this moment, Li Zhongjiu had already flashed and arrived in front of the Underworld Enlightenment Leaf in an instant. He carefully plucked the Underworld Enlightenment Leaf. 1718 No, it's at least 200,000 years old. Li Zhongjiu judged the aura of the Underworld Enlightenment Leaf, and was pleasantly surprised. The older it was, the better the effect of the herbs. At this moment, the herbs of this age fell into Li Zhongjiu's hands. For Li Zhongjiu, it was really like adding wings to a tiger. Done, retreat. However, just as Li Zhongjiu turned around, he saw that the blood dragon soul and the golden dragon soul's original spirit powers were directly stepped on by the other party. The Netherworld Night Devil King seemed to have sensed that the Underworld Enlightenment Leaf had been taken away. This was a treasure that had accompanied him for many years. Now it was taken away by Li Zhongjiu so easily. For the Netherworld Night Devil King, this was an act of provocation. At the same time, it also directly angered the latter. Suddenly, the whole cave shook violently. Then, the Netherworld Night Devil King's body directly rose into the air and directly crashed into the ceiling. Boom! The ceiling of the cave was broken through. Countless Netherworld Night Devils were smashing the cave and walls from all directions and rushing in. They all rushed towards Li Zhongjiu. This is troublesome. Li Zhongjiu used the unparalleled sword to open up a path, bringing his figure and quickly escaping into the distance. After flying out of the cave, at least tens of thousands of nether night devils chased after him. And the number was still increasing. In desperation, Li Zhongjiu could only take out an elixir that he had prepared in advance and threw it behind him. Boom! The elixir in his hand suddenly exploded, and a powder covered the netherworld night devils. Immediately, the netherworld night devils that were stained with the powder of the elixir suddenly stood up and directly tore at their companions. This disregard elixir is quite effective. Li Zhongjiu took the time to look back. The situation behind him had become extremely chaotic. The elixir that he had just thrown out was actually not created by Li Zhongjiu. It was developed by Wang Jing. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu naturally disdained this kind of crooked practice. It was not crooked at all but super useless. However, he did not expect it to have such a powerful effect. It directly dealt with the netherworld night devils in front of him. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu's body flashed and moved out of the netherworld canyon. Chapter 1265. He didn't expect that this time, he would make a great contribution by relying on Wang Jing's research of the disregard pill. However, the effect could only last for half a minute. For a top expert, half a minute was enough to fly hundreds of thousands of miles away. After leaving the netherworld canyon, Li Zhongjiu was safe. He followed the original path back to the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Back in the Mountain Sea Pavilion, Qingyu had successfully sent Guwei back to the desert city. When she saw that Li Zhongjiu had directly placed the soul-burning array at the entrance of the Mountain Sea Pavilion, she was a little worried. "Senior brother, are you guarding this meta beast?" When Qingyu saw Jin Tian meditating in front of the array, she didn't expect that this chief disciple, who usually liked to slack off, would actually step forward at this critical moment and set an example by personally guarding this meta beast. He was indeed worthy of being the chief disciple. Ahem, of course. Who else but me can do such an important thing? When Jin Tian saw that Qingyu seemed to be looking at him with admiration, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Although his cultivation was a little higher than Qingyu's, Qingyu had always looked down on him in the past. Moreover, he had always felt that he didn't see eye to eye with her. However, today he was actually able to look at her with such a gaze, which even made him feel a little impulsive. As expected of senior brother Jin Tian, then senior brother Jin Tian should be more careful. More careful? Why would he need to be more careful? Although this guy looked mysterious and fierce, he was now trapped in the array after all. How could he still need to be more careful? This thing, does it have a great origin? Jin Tian asked tentatively. He really didn't know what this thing was. But Qingyu had originally gone with the sect master, so she should know the origin of this thing. Don't you know? This is a 9th grade sovereign meta beast. Qingyu looked at the confused Jin Tian. If it wasn't for the fact that this meta beast was so powerful, why would someone be guarding this place? Why would a first disciple like you personally take charge of this place? Even Jin Tian didn't know the origin of this guy. What? This is a 9th grade supreme martial artist. Jin Tian repeatedly confirmed that he didn't hear it wrong. The thing that was trapped in the formation was actually a 9th grade sovereign level origin beast. How could this be possible? It was a 9th grade sovereign. Jin Tian seemed to feel that his brain wasn't enough to process the situation. His mind was spinning back and forth, and he couldn't figure out what was going on in front of him. By the way, senior brother, do you know where Senior Evil Lord is? Blue Moon asked. Evil Lord, it's this evil lord again. No wonder the sovereign was so strict with him previously. This evil lord was actually a terrifying existence that could trap a 9th grade sovereign level soul beast. Back then, he still wanted to provoke such a person, and even wanted to compete with this evil lord. He was simply overestimating himself. Now Jin Tian deeply knew that he was wrong. He never thought that this matter would turn out to be so serious. He almost offended a very powerful expert. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's figure landed on the ground. His body was stained with some filth and blood. Li Zhongjiu purposely let the blood stain his body. Otherwise, he might have to kill several origin beasts along the way. Senior Evil Lord, you're back? When Jin Tian saw the return of the Evil Lord, he directly saluted Li Zhongjiu. His attitude was completely different from before. Even his waist was completely bent down. He showed his great sincerity. Yes. Li Zongjio only responded faintly. Then, he looked at the dark mysterious eagle in the formation. Has this guy opened his mouth? Initially, Jin Tian didn't know that there was actually a 9th grade sovereign-level soul beast imprisoned here. He only felt that this thing was extremely strange, and didn't dare to get close to it. Now that he knew about it, he was extremely curious. Hearing Li Zongjio's question, Jin Tian shook his head. No, this guy has always been in this state. He hasn't shown or said anything. Jin Tian replied respectfully. Then, let him continue to enjoy himself in this formation. Senior Evil Lord, Miss Ge Wei has been successfully sent back to Desert City. Qin Yu stepped forward and said. Originally, she wanted to report to Li Zongjio. But now that she saw Li Zongjio, she didn't have to make a special trip. Alright, thank you for your trouble. Li Zongjio also cupped his hands towards Qin Yu. This little girl was quite loyal, and her temper was quite to Li Zongjio's liking. Therefore he also liked her. He observed Qin Yu's state for a while. He had already decided what kind of elixir to refine for Qin Yu. For Li Zongjio, refining an elixir was a very simple matter. However, for these cultivators, obtaining an elixir suitable for their physique was as difficult as ascending to heaven. It wasn't so easy to obtain. Blue Moon's impression of Li Zongjio also increased by several folds. Li Zongjio was strong, and had quite a personality. Most importantly, he was very polite to her, and didn't have the arrogant heart of an expert. Naturally, Jin Tian was watching this young man and woman flirting with each other. He didn't know what they were doing, but the feeling of being lovey-dovey was quite disgusting. Bah, shameless, seducing a female disciple as soon as he arrived at the sect. Of course, Jin Tian only dared to think this in his heart. If he really said it out loud, Jin Tian reckoned that he wouldn't be able to keep his life. Given Li Zongjio's level, if he wanted to destroy him, it would probably be a matter of flicking his finger. Senior Evil Lord, where did you go? How did you end up like this? Oh, I just went to the Netherworld Canyon and picked up some things. Li Zongjio spoke casually, but Qin Yu's eyes were filled with shock. What kind of place was the Netherworld Canyon? How could one go there just because they wanted to? For Li Zongjio, it seemed like this was indeed the case. The two of them walked away while talking. Jin Tian listened to the conversation between the two of them, and felt rather indignant. Netherworld Canyon? Bullshit, I don't believe it. I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. Boy, how do you feel when you see your woman being seduced by someone else? Jin Tian's heart was filled with resentment and anger, but he had nowhere to vent his anger. Suddenly, a voice came and entered his heart. It seemed as if it was trying to steal his soul. Moreover, this sentence directly pierced his heart. Chapter 1266. Although Jin Tian was on guard, the other party's strength was too strong. Even though they were separated by the soul-burning formation, the other party could still see through Jin Tian's thoughts. You mean you can make me the master of the sect? You can even trample that damned evil lord under your feet? Jin Tian's heart was somewhat moved, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He looked around vigilantly, hoping that there was no one around who could give him the information. Of course, I just fell into this kid's trap. Otherwise, even if there were 10 of him, he wouldn't be my opponent. With my cultivation, don't tell me that you won't be able to move unhindered in the wilderness? I don't dare to say anything else, but among the 10 forbidden areas of the human race, there are 5 lords of forbidden areas, and they are all my brothers. This Netherworld Canyon is nothing. If you help me today, I will take you to this Netherworld Canyon. You can go back and forth for hundreds of rounds. The dark black eagle solemnly vowed. But in fact, if the dark black eagle encountered this Netherworld Canyon, it would have to take a detour. Those terrifying creatures didn't like to listen to others' words. It was as if they were cursed. As long as there was a slight movement, these creatures would pounce on them. Even the dark Xian eagle would have to temporarily avoid him. However, the dark Xian eagle didn't mind at all. After all, the dark Xian eagle wouldn't know whether he was telling the truth or not. In that case, the dark Xian eagle could just say whatever he wanted. Besides, this human kid seemed to be quite greedy. Just a moment ago, he said that he wanted to be the master of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Now in the blink of an eye, he wanted to be the real master of the wilderness. What else could the dark mysterious eagle do? Of course, it agreed without hesitation. It had even started to share the wilderness with Jin Tian. This guy was really insatiably greedy. He was even a little stupid. This made the dark black eagle seriously consider whether to give up or not. It was better not to deceive this idiot. It would be better to find someone else who was smarter to help him. Tell me, how can I help you so that you can come out? Jin Tian couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to release the dark Xian eagle. Then, the dark Xian eagle would help him to become the human king of the wilderness. The dark Xian eagle couldn't help but think that if he used this method to deceive a retard, it shouldn't be impossible. It's easy if you want to help me. I have a feather here. You just have to help me bury it at the highest point of your mountain. You don't have to worry about anything else, the dark Xian eagle said. At the same time, it tore a hole in the soul-burning array and sent out a black feather. The feather fell on the ground, but it was as heavy as a metal piece that weighed dozens of kilograms. When Jin Tian saw the feather, he hastily put it away. He was afraid that other people would see it. If other people knew that he was doing this kind of transaction here, he might be beaten to death and expelled from the sect. However, Jin Tian didn't know whether he should take this step or not. Although the conversation just now was not bad, but if he thought about it carefully, things didn't seem to be so simple. He always felt that this guy was thinking of ways to deceive him. But this kind of opportunity to do something big was fleeting. It was rare for such a good opportunity to be placed in front of him. How could he let this opportunity slip away from him? This made Jin Tian's heart feel uneasy and incomparably tangled. However, the dark Xian eagle didn't say anything. It didn't even urge Jin Tian to complete this matter. In fact, the dark Xian eagle had already seen through the thoughts of a small person like Jin Tian. In the end, he would definitely do this. The dark profound eagle had also left a message on the feather. Once his brothers received this message, they would definitely rush over in a frenzy. At that time, everyone in the Mountain Sea Pavilion would die. For the dark Xian eagle, being trapped in such a formation was simply a great humiliation. After he got out, he would definitely make Li Zongjio suffer double, triple, or even tenfold. In short, he couldn't let Li Zongjio die so easily. 5 days at most. Then, all of you can just wait to die. He Xian thought in his heart. His figure once again entered the thick black fog and didn't show up. At this moment, he was enduring the pain of refining at every moment. At the same time, the demon-suppressing ruler above his head would release some power from time to time. It made He Xian feel like he was about to be burned to death. However, due to his hatred for Li Zongjio, He Xian also turned this painful feeling into the power of revenge. He must directly kill Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio didn't know what He Xian was doing. He also didn't know that Jin Tian would be bewitched by He Xian and leak information. The main thing was that he didn't care. Li Zongjio didn't care whether you were doing these things or not. If you have the ability, just come at me. Even if you are released from this soul-burning array now, I still have the ability to trap you again. At this moment, Li Zongjio was concentrating on refining the 9 nether pill in his hand. Finally obtaining this 200,000-year-old myriad nether transcendence leaf, with great difficulty, Li Zongjio naturally had to grasp this opportunity well. With his current strength, refining a grade 9 medicinal pill was already a piece of cake. But this time, Li Zongjio wanted to refine the effect of this pill to the extreme. 3 whole days passed. Li Zongjio was immersed in this alchemy room, and successfully refined the 9 nether pill in his hand. The specific refining process didn't need to be repeated. The refining method of a 9th grade pill was almost the same as that of an ordinary pill. It was enough to grasp the strength and the temperature. 3 days later, above the mountain peak of the Mountain Sea Pavilion, wind and thunder were hanging high. It seemed that tens of thousands of miles of thunder were rushing over, and the lightning was enough to spread for thousands of miles. The roaring sound of thunder was like tens of millions of elephants stamping their feet. It shook the soul. Those with a slightly weaker cultivation also felt that their bodies seemed to be unable to withstand such a strong and shocking force. Su Wangshan was gathering the sect elders to study and develop the effect of the sky-penetrating mirror. Suddenly, he saw the wind and thunder outside the sect. Could it be that this evil lord has done something that is punished by the heavens? Why is there such a terrible wind and thunder brewing? Su Wangshan couldn't help but ask. Although he was also a supreme being expert, he couldn't help but tremble under such a thunderous force. He didn't dare to stay in such a place for a while. If there was really a thunderbolt striking down, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be able to withstand it. This seems to be pill lightning. An elder who was good at alchemy looked extremely dignified when he saw the emergence of the pill lightning. To be able to summon such a terrifying pill lightning, one could see how terrifying the pill refined by this evil lord was. Boom! Before the crowd had time to continue their discussion, the thunderbolt in the sky directly struck down. The entire Mountain Sea Pavilion was illuminated by this lightning, and this ball of light caused the disciples of the Mountain Sea Pavilion to tremble in fear. However, the thunderbolt didn't damage the Mountain Sea Pavilion at all. With his own strength, Li Zhongjiu directly received the power of the thunderbolt in front of him, and used the power of the thunderbolt to temper his body. For Li Zhongjiu, it was a good cultivation method. After all, such a terrifying force wasn't so easy to find in other places. Awesome! Li Zhongjiu's body flickered with lightning. A total of 12 thunderbolts struck down from the sky, and they were all absorbed by Li Zhongjiu and refined easily. After the thunderbolt, Li Zhongjiu didn't appear. Instead, he took the newly refined 9th grade high-rank pill without stopping. 9 Nether pill. However, when Li Zhongjiu swallowed this pill, he didn't choose to take it on the mountain peak, where the Mountain Sea Pavilion was located. Otherwise, the aura alone would be enough to destroy the entire mountain peak. If he cultivated in front of someone's door and destroyed their sect, it would seem a little immoral. He still had to pay attention to this point. Chapter 1267. However, Li Zhongjiu didn't go very far. He was just opposite the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Then he began to adjust his breathing. He waited until he had adjusted his condition to a certain extent. Li Zhongjiu raised his head and looked at the sky in the wilderness. Nice weather, it's time. When Li Zhongjiu took out the 9 Nether pill again, there seemed to be a fierce wind blowing between the heavens and the earth. The surrounding space seemed to be constantly gathering extremely terrifying energy. It was constantly brewing. It was waiting for Li Zhongjiu's call. Gulp. He raised his head and swallowed the 9 Nether pill. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu's body seemed to be burning continuously, igniting the internal organs in Li Zhongjiu's body. Boom! The aura around Li Zhongjiu's body was rolling, like a turbulent wave, instantly spreading to the surroundings. The 9 Nether pill was very direct. When this pill was swallowed into the stomach, it had already activated the first layer of energy impact. Boom! Boom! The thunder clouds in the sky rolled, directly striking towards Li Zhongjiu's direction. Everyone in the Mountain Sea Pavilion was originally concentrating on studying the sky-penetrating mirror in their hands, but they were directly awakened by the thunder. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the opposite mountain peak. This evil lord, what is he up to again? Creating such a huge commotion in the untainted land every few days. Even though the untainted land could be said to be vast and boundless, it was impossible to meet a single person, even if one were to travel for tens of thousands of miles. However, if one were to create such an exaggerated commotion, one would definitely attract the attention of some meta beasts. Over the past 2 days, there had been quite a number of meta beasts visiting the Mountain Sea Pavilion, causing the guarding disciples to feel a little strained. In the face of such a situation, there was nothing they could do. Fortunately, these meta beasts did not have the intention to attack the mountain gate. Otherwise, the mountain gate might have been destroyed. In short, in the untainted land, he tried his best to make as little noise as possible. Otherwise, who knew how many monsters would appear from all directions? From the looks of it, it seems like he's refining the pill to achieve a breakthrough. What kind of medicinal pill can be so fierce? I can't say for sure, but when I was refining the elixir, a total of 12 layers of pill lightning fell. This elixir is at least at the 9th grade. Oh, this evil lord is actually a level 9 alchemist? He's so young. How did he do it? He's too fierce. Most of the people present were shocked as well. At the same time, he looked at his sect master with admiration. He had casually brought back a person from the outside world, and he actually had such heaven-defying abilities. It was simply too terrifying. His sect master was still the one with the wisdom and the strength he possessed. We have to be careful. Don't let the fluctuations of this evil lord's breakthrough shatter our mountain gate. This mountain can't withstand the torment. I feel that the primordial stone mine at the foot of the mountain is about to be sucked dry by the formation. When Su Wangshan said this, he was also quite distressed. He had never thought that such a thing would happen. That damn guy. If he had revealed the person behind this earlier, everything would have been fine. Why did he have to hold it in here and do such a thing that was bad for everyone? This made Su Wangshan feel quite displeased. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't defeat He Xian, he would definitely go up personally and beat He Xian up. Because Li Zongjiu's cultivation caused too much noise, Su Wangshan and the others had no way to carefully study the heavenly mirror. They immediately stopped what they were doing and went to the top of the mountain to observe the situation of Evil Lord's breakthrough. At the same time, they also helped to watch over their own mountain. They didn't want it to be directly shattered by the aura released by the Evil Lord. It was inconvenient to be too strong, so they had to be careful with everything. The first energy impact lasted for about half an hour. With the help of this energy, Li Zongjiu stabilized his realm and adjusted his aura directly to the peak state. After that, the second energy impact came again. It lasted for about half an hour. Then the third, fourth, and fifth. One after another. It was as if he was singing a big play. Scene after scene, the audience was watching directly from the opposite side. This was a little too exaggerated. What kind of pill did this evil lord refine? How can it be so fierce? Su Chongshan couldn't help but ask. This was also the alchemy elder with the highest cultivation in the entire Mountain Sea Pavilion. However, this alchemy elder himself was also in a state of confusion. If he knew the pill formula of such an awesome pill, he would have refined it long ago. How would I know? The pills I know are all found in the ancient books of the sect. This alchemy elder also had a stomach full of grievances. He never thought that this matter would fall on his head. At the same time, he was also very curious about the pill in Li Zongjiu's hands. He was very coveted, and even the others were quite envious. The light in his eyes could almost reach 10,000 feet. If he could take such a pill, he couldn't break through any realm. Here it comes again, here it comes again, here it comes again. Li Zongjiu's pill made these people extremely shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes at all. No one would believe what they saw today. A single pill could actually launch a total of 9 attacks on one's realm. This kind of attack was really too overbearing, and each attack was stronger than the previous one. The time was also extremely short. One wave after another. If one's strength was not enough, one's whole body would probably explode. However, during the whole process of the breakthrough, Li Zongjiu was able to control the sudden surge of power in his hands easily. No matter if it was strong or weak, he could handle it with ease. This kind of strength was worthy of these people of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Not anxious, not impatient, as stable as Mount Tai. This realm is really high. Senior Evil Lord's control of power has already reached the realm of perfection. He's too strong to be able to control the surging power so well. Senior Evil Lord's realm is unfathomable. Many disciples of the Mountain Sea Pavilion were also watching this breakthrough. However, there was a pair of eyes that were quite angry, quite unhappy, and even quite jealous. He should have been the hope of this sect, the person who was praised by everyone. But now, it was all taken by another person. Jealousy was the devil. I'd like to see how long you can be awe-inspiring. A cold light flashed in Jin Tian's eyes, and at the same time, he glanced at Li Zongjiu's position. Previously, Jin Tian had directly buried He Xian's feather on the opposite mountain for the sake of insurance. In this way, if He Xian's companions arrived, they would go to the opposite mountain first. It just so happened that Li Zongjiu was cultivating in that spot. He directly released the fluctuations, so that the others could clearly feel what was going on in that spot. You should die early, and be reincarnated early. Jin Tian thought so in his heart. However, He Xian, who was trapped in the soul-burning formation, was hiding in the black fog. At the same time, he also looked at Li Zongjiu, who was breaking through in front of him. Go ahead and create as much of a commotion as you can. That way you'll die faster. He Xian couldn't help but laugh out loud in his heart. His feather was enough to release the aura. In addition, Li Zongjiu's movement, whether or not they noticed it, they would soon be attracted. He didn't even need to spend too much effort. In the following days, he just needed to wait here quietly for his companions to come. After the yuan energy in Li Zongjiu's body ran a circulatory cycle, he slowly sank into his dantian and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air toward the sky. Finally, I have recovered half of my strength. 5th grade sovereign yuan energy. 5th grade sovereign mental strength. The physical body of a 3rd grade sovereign. Chapter 1268. Li Zongjiu felt a lot better now that he had made breakthroughs in all aspects. If he were to face the dark profound eagle now, he wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. With the strength of a 3rd grade sovereign, and the support of his yuan force, he would be able to face the dark profound eagle head-on. They were strong enough to fight the darkness Xian eagle head-on, and could easily tear it to shreds. The surging power in Li Zongjiu's body was also quite carefree. Congratulations to Evil Lord for making a breakthrough. Congratulations to Evil Lord for making a breakthrough. As soon as Li Zongjiu broke through, Su Wangshan and the others flew out and congratulated Li Zongjiu one after another. It was as if they had returned to the same feeling and treatment in their previous life. As long as you became famous, there would always be a large group of followers behind you. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu didn't care about these followers. What was the use of their flattery? If he wasn't happy, he would kill those who came to congratulate him. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's temper wasn't that easy to understand. However, after his rebirth, Li Zongjiu had become a peace-loving person. He liked the temperament of Su Wangshan and the others. In that case, Li Zongjiu would have to stay here. When the Li family enters the wilderness in the future, they would definitely need the help of these people. The Li family couldn't stay under the protection of Li Zongjiu forever. If they didn't seek their own path of development, they would be digging their own grave. If they didn't move forward, they would fall behind. This was a very simple principle. Therefore, Li Zongjiu would never let the Li family live in peace forever. Even if they had to make a huge sacrifice, they would have to move forward in a more difficult direction. If they didn't go through hardships, how could they grow to the peak? He believed that his father Li Tianqing also understood this principle. His aura fell. Li Zongjiu also retracted his aura and stood up to look at the people who came to congratulate him. Thank you, everyone. I've also refined some pills before. If you're interested, you can take them and study them. As his voice faded, Li Zongjiu waved his hand. More than 10 rays of light shot out and landed in front of these people in an instant. Each person received 1 pill. The pills were of different grades, but they were all grade 8 and above. He was a god-grade alchemist after all. Naturally, he couldn't be too stingy when he made a move. Otherwise, he would be ridiculed by others. The people from the Mountain Sea Pavilion, who came to congratulate them, did not expect Li Zongjiu to be so generous. The level of these elixirs was quite high. Even the old alchemist of the Mountain Sea Pavilion was only in the level 8 realm. It took him half a year to refine in level 8 elixir. It was really embarrassing. With just a casual wave of his hand, the alchemist's credit went to who knows how many years of hard work. Therefore, this alchemist elder was deeply affected. He admired Li Zongjiu very much, and wished that he could follow Li Zongjiu as a follower. It didn't matter what he did. As long as he could give some pointers on alchemy when he was free and in a good mood, that would be enough. Qingyu was also in the crowd. However, she didn't receive Li Zongjiu's elixir, which made her feel a little disappointed. After all, this also meant that in Li Zongjiu's eyes, Qingyu couldn't be compared to the other elders. Perhaps in Li Zongjiu's eyes, Qingyu was just an insignificant disciple. This was very normal. After a little disappointment, Qingyu cheered up again. In the future, She would have to work harder to cultivate in order to enter Li Zongjiu's eyes and be valued by Li Zongjiu. You're called Qingyu, right? This is for you. You've helped me before, so naturally, I won't treat you unfairly. After Li Zongjiu finished speaking, he flicked his finger and sent a ray of green light to Qingyu. Qingyu subconsciously opened her palm and caught the pill. Looking at the pill in her palm, she simply couldn't believe it, and her eyes were filled with astonishment. This is. When the surrounding elders saw the elixir in Qingyu's hand, their eyes widened. This aura was undoubtedly many times stronger than theirs. It was actually so powerful. This elixir was definitely not ordinary. This is the minor 9 nether elixir. Although it's only a half-finished product with less than 1/10 of its power, it's enough for you to consume. You're now in the realm of 1st grade sovereign. After consuming it, you should be able to reach 4th grade. Li Zongjiu said. Minor 9 nether elixir. The name sounded very domineering. After hearing what Li Zongjiu said about the effects of the minor 9 nether elixir, they couldn't help but wonder if they had heard wrongly. Breaking through from 1st grade to 4th grade. For an ordinary genius cultivator, it would take at least 400 to 500 years to achieve such a breakthrough. Although Su Wangshan was already at the peak of the 4th grade sovereign realm, it still took him 500 years to reach his current level from the 1st grade sovereign realm. However, Qingyu was about to easily reach such a realm with the help of the elixir in her hand. All the elders present were dumbfounded and at a loss of what to do. It was as if their painstaking cultivation over the years was simply a waste of time. In the eyes of Evil Lord, a single elixir could easily solve the problem. Wasn't this infuriating? Although the minor 9 nether elixir was given to Qingyu, and Li Zongjiu relied on the real 9 nether elixir to break through to 5th grade sovereign. Li Zongjiu's 5th grade sovereign was equivalent to 4 5th grade sovereigns, because Li Zongjiu had 4 yuan spirits in his body. It was several times more than an ordinary person. For a cultivator like Qingyu, the minor 9 nether elixir was a very simple matter to break through to that realm. All he had to do was to cultivate it properly. The flames of jealousy in the eyes of Su Wangshan and the others were naturally extremely high. However, they naturally couldn't compete with their own disciples and Qingyu for this elixir. Your bones have long been fixed. If you take this elixir, your body will explode and you will die. Don't even think about it. Li Zongjiu seemed to have seen through the thoughts of these elders, so he directly cut off their thoughts. Upon hearing this, these elders let go of the grudges in their hearts. Fortunately, they didn't intend to take the elixir. Otherwise, they would have died directly. Qingyu, hurry up and thank Senior Evil Lord, Su Wangshan hurriedly said when he saw that Qingyu was still standing there in a daze. Qingyu was also dizzy from this sudden happiness. She only came back to her senses when she heard her master's words. Qingyu thanks Senior Evil Lord. After Qingyu finished speaking, 2 thunderous roars suddenly resounded in the sky. From far away, there seemed to be 2 streaks of rainbow light flying over at a rapid speed. Chapter 1269. The 2 terrifying rays of light that were surging towards them. It also made Su Wangshan and the others frown. Not good. With such an aura, they must be from the untainted land. Quickly return to the sect and set up the formation. Su Wangshan also hurriedly gathered the sect elders and returned to the Mountain Sea Pavilion. Although he didn't know what the 2 were here for, he knew that it couldn't be anything good. Once they started fighting, it would be a devastating disaster for the Mountain Sea Pavilion. When they saw the battle between Li Zongjiu and the dark mysterious eagle, they already knew that not a single blade of grass could grow within a radius of 10,000 miles. With such a terrifying destructive power, they naturally had to be careful. Senior Evil Lord, why don't you come to our sect's formation and hide for a while? They must be here for a personal grudge. Su Wangshan and Qingyu hadn't returned to the sect yet, because they found that Li Zongjiu was still at the same place. No need. These 2 are here for me. You guys stay away, Li Zongjiu said. Then, he put his hands behind his back and looked up at the 2 figures that were like shooting stars. With a loud boom, they fell 100 meters away. And this was after he had reduced his movements by a little. Otherwise, if they didn't retract their strength, the moment they fell was enough to collapse the entire mountain. Is Old Black trapped here? It seems to be on the opposite mountain. Two figures directly walked out from the flying dust. Their bodies also carried an extremely ferocious aura. After they walked out, their figures directly appeared in front of the three people. One was fat and one was thin. One was tall and one was short. The taller one was even fatter. It looked as if this fat man walked out with a monkey-like pet. Their appearance was quite comical. However, no one found the aura released from the two laughable. Even if it was funny, it was definitely in a state where they couldn't laugh. You three lowly humans, have you seen a black eagle? Li Zongjio and the others had yet to speak, but these two strange-looking people had actually opened their mouths to humiliate them first. What an arrogant fellow. Su Wangshan knew what Li Zongjio was capable of. Of course, he was not afraid of the person in front of him. You too. This is the territory of the Mountain Sea Pavilion. If you want to ask for directions, shouldn't you be a little more polite? Courteous? Sure, I'll be a little courteous with you. The short and skinny man also raised his palm. There was a ball of power condensing in his palm. Then he waved it toward Su Wangshan. Boom! This power was definitely not something that Su Wangshan could withstand. The attack was also quite fierce. Blue Moon, on the other hand, was very sincere. Regardless of the danger, she raised her sword and charged forward. Li Zongjio gave the two of them a push, pushing them far away. Then, with a flick of his finger, a spiral of energy whizzed out. Boom! When the two forces collided, a wave of energy instantly surged out. That's interesting. The fat man suddenly took out an extremely large rake from his trouser pocket. Without saying a word, he directly smashed it toward Li Zongjio's head. Li Zongjio stretched out his hand, and with a stroke of his sword, the rake was sent flying. The unparalleled sword was in his hand. At this moment, Li Zongjio's aura was like that of a sword immortal. The light on this guy's body is so dazzling. What a strong sword chi. I've never seen someone with such a strong sword chi. When they saw Li Zongjio brandishing the unparalleled sword, the fat and skinny men were quite surprised. However, their attitude toward each other was as if they were just appraising Li Zongjio in front of them. They were not afraid at all. It seemed that no matter how strong Li Zongjio was, he was just a piece of trash that could be easily killed. You're looking for him, right? Li Zongjio directly waved his hand, and directly uprooted the soul-burning array, and directly moved it to the mountain peak. Boom! When the soul-burning array fell to the ground, the trapped dark mysterious eagle immediately became excited when it saw the fat and skinny men. Big brother, second brother, you're finally here. Quickly help me kill this damn thing. The dark mysterious eagle said angrily. It couldn't wait to cut off Li Zongjio's head right now, and then ruthlessly stomp it under its feet. Third brother, why are you so weak? Why are you like this? Seeing the dark Xian eagle in such a state, the skinny man was a little surprised. After all, this third brother of his was a supreme demon king. Now that he was trapped in this formation, he looked quite miserable. More importantly, it was very embarrassing. Second brother, don't let this kid escape. He's the person that the venerable wants. When the two venerables were mentioned, the fat man and the skinny man's bodies clearly trembled. How could they not know about such reputable people? However, the venerable master's standards were very high. If one didn't have the best aptitude, he or she wouldn't even be qualified to serve them. Back then, the three of them came to the Sparrow Divine Palace at the same time. In the end, there was only one venerable in the Sparrow Divine Palace, the Dark Xian Eagle, that had infuriated them to death. However, it also proved that He Xian's talent was indeed stronger than they had imagined. He had rushed all the way to his current realm. This made the two of them blush with shame. Since he's the person that the venerable masters want, then don't worry. We won't let this kid escape today. Li Zongjio listened to He Xian's words. It seemed that there was indeed someone behind He Xian. Venerable masters? Li Zongjio had never heard of such a person. However, a person who could be called a venerable master should be a peak supreme. 9th grade 9th transformation realm. In the past, Li Zongjio was in such a realm. Therefore, the name Evil Lord was genuine. As for the people in front of them, as long as they were in the supreme realm, It was unorthodox for them to give themselves a title. Generally, they wouldn't be able to keep this name for long. In fact, there were only a few real venerables. Li Zongjio knew that there were 7 venerables in the Untainted Land, and 2 in the Endless Sea region. As for the Xinggu continent, there wasn't a single one. There were 4 on the Dragon Island. However, the 4 on the Dragon Island were killed by Li Zongjio. It could be seen that Li Zongjio's strength was actually stronger than a venerable master at that time. Haha, I don't know where this third-rate trash came from. How dare you call yourself a venerable master? Li Zongjio deliberately provoked the other party. After all, the name of a venerable master was supreme and couldn't be tarnished. Obviously, Li Zongjio's words had directly angered these people. Presumptuous! How dare you tarnish the name of a venerable master? How can a scoundrel like you tarnish the name of the Sky Sparrow Venerable? The fat man and the thin man were obviously not smart enough to be beaten by He Xian. They immediately said the name of the Sky Sparrow Venerable. Chapter 1270. Sky Sparrow Venerable? Li Zongjio had never heard of Sky Sparrow Venerable. Either this guy had died early, or these guys had hidden themselves so well that very few people knew about them. Only their servants knew about them. What Sky Sparrow Venerable? I advise you to go back quickly and find a few more reinforcements. Otherwise, it doesn't matter even if a few more of you come. Li Zongjio said indifferently, as if he did not care about the people in front of him at all. In the face of such an arrogant Li Zongjio, the two of them were furious. The fat man and the skinny man were so angry that they gritted their teeth. Then, they stomped their feet and immediately, the two of them did not hesitate to explode with powerful vitality. Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted and swept towards Li Zongjio at the same time. Boom! The skinny man took out a slender black saber. Suddenly, the black saber in his hand seemed to have the power to split the sky and earth. Li Zongjio's figure retreated to the back, moving horizontally over 100 feet away. However, there was a figure who had been waiting for Li Zongjio's escape for a long time. Have a taste of your grandpa Fei Wei's rake. As soon as he finished speaking, the rake in front of him chopped towards Li Zongjio's head with a terrifying aura. Li Zongjio brandished the peerless sword in his hand and swung it once again. With a clanging sound, the rake was easily sent flying again. The fat man who called himself Fei Wei was also stunned on the spot. If he remembered correctly, this was the second time the rake in Fei Wei's hand had been sent flying. My 9-death rake! Fei Wei roared angrily. He actually abandoned his weapon and punched towards Li Zongjio with both his fists. Li Zongjio didn't clash head-on with the other party, as that would be a waste of energy. The unparalleled sword in his hand also left a few bloody wounds on the other party's fist. Given the power of the unparalleled sword, it wasn't something that these origin beasts could easily block. Although one's defense would drop after transforming into a human, it was not a problem. Even if one was at the peak of the primitive level, one would still not be a match for the unparalleled sword. It could easily cut through one's body. Ah, my hand! You asked for it. Fei Wei's hands were full of injuries. Obviously, he had suffered greatly under the sharpness of the unparalleled sword. Immediately, he shook his body and a terrifying yuan power gathered around his body. A terrifying yellow yuan power wrapped around Fei Wei's body. Then a muscular figure landed on the ground, and the entire mountain shook. Amidst the violent movement, a black hippopotamus-like yuan beast appeared. However, its 2 ears were like the palm leaf fans of an elephant. Relying on his sturdy physique, he was able to easily heal the injuries caused by the peerless sword. When the skinny man saw that Fei Wei had appeared, he immediately jumped onto the back of the black hippopotamus. Just its hoof alone was more than 10 feet long. Its entire body was naturally huge, close to 300 feet. Devastation River Demon? Li Zongjio was shocked when he saw the appearance of the hippopotamus. The yuan beast in front of him was called a river demon. If this guy was allowed to stay in the water, it would be an invincible existence. No one could defeat this guy in the water. Although this was a mountain range, the Devastation River Demon was equally powerful. Of course, its influence wasn't small. However, the Devastation River Demon was very confident that it could easily trample Li Zongjio to death. Fei Wei go. The long saber in the skinny man's hand was also very effective. It was suitable to be used on the Devastation River Demon. The Devastation River Demon was also quite cooperative. With a command, it rushed towards Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio directly hit the Devastation River Demon with the mountain-toppling golden seal. Immediately, the Devastation River Demon flipped over, and the skinny man on its back fell to the ground. It looked like a slight fall. However, in an instant the earth shook and the mountain shook. The huge mountain seemed to have cracked open in an instant. A terrifying movement directly erupted. At this moment, Su Wangshan and Yi Shiwen, who had already returned to the Mountain Sea Pavilion, also looked at the scene in front of them in astonishment. They had only left for a moment, but the entire mountain had already collapsed. If these people were fighting on their own mountain, the Mountain Sea Pavilion would have already ceased to exist. It was really quite dangerous. Although Su Wangshan and the others also had the ability to destroy the mountain range, it was not so easy to display it. At least, they could not shatter the mountain so easily. This was a kind of control and mastery of power. Mastering the power of 10,000 tons and mastering the control of 10,000 tons of power were two different concepts. Therefore, the level of Li Zongjio and the others was far from what these people could compare with. Even though Li Zongjio's Yuanli level was about the same as theirs, the real level of power was incomparable. Senior Evil Lord trapped the meta beast in the formation. How did these people find this place? Su Wangshan suddenly frowned. This matter was not simple. The untainted land was so big, and this place was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the place where the battle started. Under such circumstances, how did these people find this place? Compared to Li Zongjio, Su Wangshan was more worried about this matter. He was most afraid that the enemy's helpers would come to find them. Therefore, he had to do a good job of isolating the aura. Therefore, Su Wangshan's intuition also told him that there must be something wrong. However, he still needed to thoroughly investigate what was going on. Sect Master, we found this thing at the foot of the mountain. It is emitting a very strong aura. Two disciples of the Mountain Sea Pavilion suddenly took out a feather that looked like a razor blade. After all, they had to show that this feather was quite precious and unusual. This aura is clearly the same as the aura of the dark mysterious eagle. Su Wangshan's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. Obviously, someone was helping the dark mysterious eagle to release its aura. After that, it was too late to cover it up. This time, it was found by the two disciples. Master, only senior brother Jin Tian is guarding the dark mysterious eagle. It should be a misunderstanding. Qinghua thought of this matter. The little girl was still relatively naive. She thought that senior brother Jin Tian would not do such a stupid thing. However, how could Su Wangshan not understand Jin Tian? Elders, go and throw Jin Tian into the soul-piercing prison. Chapter 1271. Li Zongjio's mountain-toppling golden seal had dealt a heavy blow to the Devastator River Demon. With just a simple slap, the Devastator River Demon was reduced to such a state. The Devastator River Demon could not even find his way. He had to lie in the ruins for a long time before he could recover. However, after Devastation River Demon and the skinny man regained consciousness, they found themselves in a special place. He suddenly realized that he was in a special world. His surroundings were blood-red, and a terrifying baleful blood aura exploded out. Both of them were shocked. Where was this place? Dragon Clan's aura. When the blood dragon soul appeared in front of them, both of them were stunned. Looking at the terrifying Dragon Clan aura in front of them, both of them were shocked. The Dragon Clan's status among the metabeasts was equivalent to the royal experts among the ordinary people. They were born to be superior, and ordinary people would definitely tremble in fear before them. When Li Zongjio's Yuan power cultivation had a breakthrough, the power of the 4 dragon souls had naturally increased as well. Hence, when the power of the blood dragon soul gathered in front of the 2 meta-beasts, it had a terrifying aura. It already had 80% of the Dragon Clan's prestige. Even to the meta-beasts who had never seen a Dragon Clan before, it was the real Dragon Clan's supremacy. It was just that it had yet to reach the peak. Even so, the two meta beasts were still shocked. They widened their eyes, and even felt a lingering fear. Since they were already at such a level, it was basically impossible for them to be deceived. Furthermore, it should be known that the aura of the dragon clan was not something that could be imitated just because one wanted to. Hence, the blood dragon soul in front of him was definitely inextricably linked to the dragon clan. It was definitely not a trick that Li Zongjie was playing. There really was such a thing. Li Zongjie appeared on top of the blood dragon soul. Stepping on the blood dragon soul, he stared at Devastation River Demon below. Hurry up and show your true form. Li Zongjie's voice was like a large bell ringing in one's ears. The force of the impact was also quite explosive. The other skinny man was also unable to bear the burden. Under the double pressure, his body also began to rapidly change. The skinny man immediately transformed into a skinny black crane. When he saw the black crane, Li Zongjie's eyes showed that he had already guessed it. Baiming Xuanhe. I am not at all surprised by the combination of the two of you. Li Zongjie said indifferently. The identities of these two people were quite rare. After all, their bloodlines were extremely rare in the untainted land. In other words, they were basically extinct. Therefore, it was not surprising that the two of them would be paired together. Li Zongjie had already guessed this before. World Devastation River Demon and North Sea Xuanhe might not be able to dominate the entire untainted land, but as long as they knew their place, it wouldn't be a problem for them to breed their own race. You can actually control a dragon soul. Who exactly are you? Baiming Xuanhe was astonished as well. Li Zongjie was able to force Baiming Xuanhe's true body out of the bloody soul hell with just a few words. Naturally, Li Zongjie was extremely powerful. Therefore, North Sea Xuanhe was quite surprised by Li Zongjie's strength. He naturally had a lingering fear towards this mysterious human. This was also the reason why the Dark Xian Eagle was chosen while the other two weren't. The Dark Xian Eagle's brain was indeed better than the other two, and its intelligence was also higher than the other two. It was no wonder that the World Devastation River Demon and North Sea Xuanhe would become extinct. The dragon race is nothing. Aren't you going to take my life today? Come and take it if you have the ability. As Li Zongjie's voice faded, he released a powerful aura that directly intimidated the people in front of him. At the same time, the baleful blood aura hidden in the bodies of the two people suddenly erupted, easily blowing up their bodies and causing them to be seriously injured. In addition, the power of the blood dragon's soul swept over. Naturally, it was quite ferocious. It directly crushed the two origin beasts to the ground. Don't. Lord Venerable, please spare my life. Lord Venerable, please spare my life. Just as Li Zongjie was about to teach the two of them a lesson, he heard the Devil River Demon hurriedly shouting. Li Zongjie thought that he hadn't even used his strength yet. So why did the Devil River Demon admit defeat? How do you know that I'm a venerable? Li Zongjie said indifferently. Only supremacies are able to take in dragons as their primordial spirit. Naturally, we wouldn't dare to offend you. Please spare our lives, Venerable. The Devil River Demon lowered its noble head without any dignity. After all, it was an extinct creature in the outside world. If it didn't lower its head in time, its race would really become extinct when its life was taken away. Until now, there were probably only a few Devil River Demons left. However, there was only one North Sea Xuanhe left. Therefore, the North Sea Xuanhe quickly followed the Devil River Demon's team and directly knelt down. Venerable, please spare our lives. Venerable, please spare our lives. The blood dragon soul also spat out a trace of thick blood qi. When it saw the bloody qi billowing in front of it, it was quite surprised. What's wrong with these people? I haven't even made a move, but you've already fallen. Moreover, you're still admitting defeat. What's there to say about this? Well, it seems like you all cherish your lives. Aren't you and the dark mysterious eagle sworn friends? Li Zongjie said. We wouldn't dare. It's just a coincidence that we met He Xian. We just want to use He Xian to get close to the three venerables of the Sparrow God Palace. There's nothing else. If Venerable is willing to take us in, we'll immediately take care of this brat. If Dark North Xuanhe knew that he was facing a Venerable, he wouldn't have helped Dark North Xuanhe, even if he was beaten to death. This damn thing actually dragged him into the water. If he couldn't survive, he would definitely drag Dark North Xuanhe down with him. Sparrow God Palace? You know where the Sparrow God Palace is? Hearing the words of the North Sea Xuanhe, Li Zhongjiu's eyes suddenly emitted a ray of light. This ray of light was accompanied by Li Zhongjiu's powerful aura. The two of them couldn't even breathe under the pressure. Under such pressure, the two of them trembled. Li Zhongjiu's aura was like 100,000 mountains stacked together, constantly crushing the two of them. Chapter 1272. They were already at the 9th grade sovereign realm. Although their realm was not as high as the dark mysterious eagle, they were still considered top-notch existences. It was a little inexcusable for them to be suppressed by Li Zhongjiu like this. Although Li Zhongjiu had yet to reach the venerable realm, Li Zhongjiu was one of the top experts among the venerables in his previous life. Although his strength had yet to recover, his aura would only become sharper and sharper. Li Zhongjiu saw that the two of them were forced to remain silent, and did not dare to do anything else. He immediately chose to withdraw his aura. Tell me everything you know about the Sparrow Divine Palace, and I will spare your lives. Remember everything. Everything. Li Zhongjiu said in a deep voice. Although they were frightened just now, they became excited when they heard that there was a chance for them to live. They scrambled to tell him everything they knew about the Sparrow Divine Palace. The Sparrow Divine Palace was not a sect of the human race. It was a sect of the primitive primordial beasts. Just like the legendary Dragon Island, the Sparrow Divine Palace's status was similar to the Dragon Island. In fact, the Dragon Island was located on a mysterious island in the primitive land. The mysterious island was isolated by the venerables of the Dragon clan, forming a natural barrier. Although the Sparrow Divine Palace was similar to the Dragon Island, it was not as well known as the Dragon Island. One should know that the Dragon Island had countless top experts and many inheritors. It did not give people the feeling that the Dragon Island was lacking in power. However, very few people knew about the Sparrow Divine Palace. There were very few people in the Sparrow Divine Palace. Even the inheritors were few and far between. Therefore, it was already a problem whether or not the Sparrow Divine Palace's inheritance could continue. Therefore, the Sparrow Divine Palace was not as well known as the Dragon Island. However, it was still relatively famous among the primitive primordial beasts in the primitive primordial beast world. I see. Li Zhongjiu came to a conclusion after hearing these things. Moreover, the two of them knew the location of the Sparrow Divine Palace. There were 3 venerables in the Sparrow Divine Palace. 3 people. Li Zhongjiu was naturally not afraid. It seemed like he had to personally make a trip to the Sparrow God Palace. Li Zhongjiu thought to himself. Then, he looked at the 2 people in front of him, wondering if he should kill them or let them go. Seeing Li Zhongjiu's hesitant eyes, the 2 of them were shocked and quickly kowtowed to Li Zhongjiu. Have mercy, Venerable One, have mercy. Look at how timid you are. You can stay in the Mountain Sea Pavilion as the guardian beasts of the sect. If you don't want to, you can stay in my bloody soul hell, and let my blood dragon original spirit practice with you all day long. Li Zhongjiu said. When they heard that there was a way out for them, they naturally nodded their heads without the slightest hesitation. This also made Li Zhongjiu thoroughly understand how cowardly these guys were. Basically, if there was even the slightest danger to their lives, they would probably surrender and admit defeat. As long as they could live, it didn't matter what they did. When Li Zhongjiu appeared with the 2 meta beasts, the dark mysterious eagle trapped in the soul-burning array was also shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes. Why was Li Zhongjiu still alive? Moreover, the fat and thin man didn't seem to have any intention to continue fighting with Li Zhongjiu. Instead, they followed behind Li Zhongjiu. This was simply too shocking for the dark mysterious eagle. Big brother, second brother, what are you doing? Hurry up and kill this evil lord. When I get out, I will definitely put in a good word for you in front of the 3 venerables. The dark mysterious eagle said in a deep voice. At this moment, he could already see that the 2 of them seemed to have reached some kind of agreement with Li Zhongjiu. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so harmonious. He immediately wanted to tempt the 2 of them with such a promise. TSK. Hey Xian, we two brothers were almost killed by you. That's right. You are clearly lying to us. For so many years, every time you have something to do, you would ask us to do it. You even said that you would put in a good word for us in front of the venerables. You have been saying that for hundreds of years, but until now, we haven't even seen a fart. Fei Wei also thought in his heart. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this He Xian had been lying to them all this time. He deliberately said such words to make them put in more effort to do things. Thinking that this person in front of him was actually so hateful. Fei Wei couldn't wait to stomp He Xian to death in front of him. But thinking about it, it would be too easy for him. You two fools, don't be deceived by this cunning human. Humans are the best at lying. Don't believe this person. Although they didn't know what Li Zongjie said to them, they seemed to be more convinced by Li Zongjie now. He actually used such a method to deceive these stupid meta-beasts. He Xian also despised Li Zongjie's actions. But in fact, He Xian was the one who really made use of these two guys. Now that his methods were exposed, he was naturally unhappy. He couldn't wait to twist Li Zongjie's head off. Are these your last words? Then prepare to die, Li Zongjie said indifferently. He Xian smiled disdainfully. Stupid. So what if the two of them were deceived by you? Although I'm trapped in the formation, you'll need at least 500 years to refine me. During that time, the Honorable One will definitely appear and kill you on the spot. You won't live for long. The Venerables have named you to die. Even if I am trapped, there will still be others who will come out to take your life, He Xian said coldly. At the same time, his eyes were full of disdain. A mere first-grade sovereign wanted to refine him. It was simply a fool's dream. But soon, Li Zongjie let him know whether it was a fool's dream or not. Li Zongjie raised his hand, and the demon-subduing ruler suddenly released a terrifying aura, which descended. When the demon-subduing ruler was activated, the pressure within the great array suddenly increased by more than 10-fold. In the next moment, the unparalleled sword also whizzed out. Boom! In the array, sword aura was suddenly added to the sword array, forming an extremely terrifying array. At this moment, the soul-burning array was suddenly activated. The domineering power instantly forced He Xian to revert to his original form. After that, a terrifying power was directly visible to the naked eye. He Xian's wings were burning with a scorched light. Furthermore, He Xian only had one wing left. Chapter 1273. The scorched fire on He Xian's wings turned into flames and burned his body. At this moment, He Xian couldn't bear the pain. He couldn't utter any harsh words. He could only continuously circulate his yuan power. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't resist Li Zongjie's power. He could not resist the power of the formation. After a few minutes, He Xian's body was burned to ashes. World Devastation River Demon and Baiming Xuanhe could only stare blankly at He Xian being burned to death. Their eyes were filled with shock. They looked at each other and did not say anything. It was too terrifying. A meta-beast expert who could become a venerable was burned to death just like that. It would be hard to hide it no matter where it was. The shock in their hearts. No matter how stupid they were, they all knew that Li Zongjie wanted to kill them at this moment, because he wanted to kill them for them to see. This was what humans meant by killing the chicken to warn the monkey. To establish prestige. If he could kill He Xian, it would be even easier for them to kill him. They would not be any hindrance to Li Zongjie, and would be killed easily. Therefore, the two of them immediately became much more well-behaved. Even if they had some thoughts in their hearts before, they didn't dare to think about it now. It's not too much for me to ask the two of you to hand over your spiritual imprints. After killing He Xian, Li Zongjie looked at the two of them with a very kind gaze. It was as if he was saying that he was not forcing them. However, if they were not willing, the consequences would be unpredictable. Immediately, the two of them did not hesitate too much. They were willing to submit to Li Zongjie and directly handed over their spiritual imprints. They severed a strand of their spiritual power and fell under Li Zongjie's control. Just like the Sky Blaze Lion, Li Zongjie could easily take their lives with a thought. The two of them were extinct meta-beasts. It was obviously inappropriate to leave them in Wuxia City. After all, Wuxia City could not accommodate such meta-beasts. They could not afford to feed them. If they snored while sleeping, they would wake up the next morning to find that Wuxia City was gone. Don't you think this is awkward? After all, their levels were different. If Li Zongjio were to forcefully release the prehistoric Yuan beast, it would definitely lead to quite a troublesome outcome. Unless, of course, Li Zongjio intended to bring the prehistoric Yuan beast to destroy the three great empires. That was quite appropriate. Follow me. Li Zongjio flew to the Mountain Sea Pavilion, with the two beasts behind him. Su Wangshan and the others had been watching Li Zongjio's situation. After all, Li Zongjio's situation was quite important. If Li Zongjio was unable to hold on, and He Xian was released, Su Wangshan could ask everyone to run away quickly. Maybe one or two of them could survive. But now, it seemed that there was no need for that. Seeing that Li Zongjio killed He Xian with his own hands, and the two beasts behind him were indifferent, as if they had no intention of avenging He Xian, Su Wangshan guessed that the three of them must have reached some kind of agreement. When Li Zongjio and the other two landed, Su Wangshan immediately went forward to greet them. "Senior Evil Lord, are you okay?" Su Wangshan asked with concern. But this was no less than a superfluous sentence. Even Blue Moon felt that this sentence was completely unnecessary. There was no meaning to it at all. "I'm fine. I'll give you a task. These two will be your main guardian beasts. Before I summon them, they will be in charge of your place. Help me take care of them." The reason why Li Zongjio allowed these two fellows to familiarize themselves with being gatekeepers was to train their temperament in advance. After all, there would be a huge psychological difference if they were to become gatekeepers from free and unrestrained meta-beasts. They would know what to do when the people from the Li family arrived, and it would be more convenient to train them. At the same time, since these people from the Mountain Sea Pavilion were taken care of by Li Zongjio, they would have to get some interest back in the future. What? How can we? When Su Wangshan heard this, he was stunned. He did not expect Li Zongjio to make such a decision. He wanted these two meta-beasts to guard his place? There was actually such a good thing in this world. This kind of bargain was simply impossible to pick up. Su Wangshan immediately nodded his head. "Hehe, how should I address the two of you? It's really hard on the two of you. Although our Mountain Sea Pavilion is not a noble place, we will try our best to not lower your status." Su Wangshan was rather polite to these two meta-beasts. They were 9th grade sovereign meta-beasts. Although there were many primordial beasts in the untainted land, no one had ever heard of a sect that could tame a primordial beast of this level. Now the Mountain Sea Pavilion had two primordial beasts. Although they didn't bring them out to fight all the time, the name alone was enough to scare people. Such a great honor was bestowed by Evil Lord. It made people feel hesitant. "You guys can chat among yourselves. I will make a trip to the Sparrow Deity Palace." After Li Zongjio found out the location of the Sparrow Deity Palace, he could not wait any longer. The Mountain Sea Sparrow was most likely a meta-beast sent out by the Sparrow Deity Palace to find a suitable successor. The newly awakened little mountain seagull did not have any chance to test Qi Yinran's aptitude. At this critical juncture, it stepped forward bravely and brought Qi Yinran into the Sparrow Divine Palace without any other choice. However, due to a freak combination of factors, it directly detected that Qi Yinran actually had the physique of the All-Dao tree. This situation was out of the seagull's expectations. Li Zongjio waited bitterly for a long time. Today, he finally found out the location of Qi Yinran. Naturally, he did not hesitate. Moreover, his strength had greatly improved under the effects of the 9 nether pill. For Li Zongjio, there was nothing to be afraid of in the Sparrow Deity Palace. Although he had broken into the Dragon Island at his peak, his current strength was not bad either. After speaking, Li Zongjio's figure flew rapidly in the direction of the Sparrow Deity Palace. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon. He is indeed a sovereign. His speed is so fast. The two of them saw Li Zongjio disappear. However, they were more surprised that Li Zongjio dared to break into the Sparrow Deity Palace alone. He was indeed a little overbearing. Chapter 1274. Within the Xingyan dynasty, evil Lord Li Zongjio had disappeared for a period of time. Some people said that evil Lord had gone into closed-door training. Some people said that evil Lord Li Zongjio had gone mad during cultivation, and no one knew where he had died. However, such a statement was very absurd. However, the White Deer residence continued to open with great haste. It was even said that the White Deer Mansion had directly reached a strategic cooperation with the Heavenly Water sect in the Xingyan dynasty. This huge net was also directly woven, and the spread was quite large. It made people dumbfounded. At this moment, the 14th prince, who was in charge of Qingkuan Sacred City, had also launched a great undertaking. He directly discussed with the Haike dynasty and jointly formed an action plan to exterminate the demon race. Both sides carried out the plan, and the results were remarkable. It was also quite effective. The imperial courts of both sides gradually established their status. Whether it was the Haike dynasty or the Xingyan dynasty, they had their own good performance. It was worth mentioning that there was a battle. Some demon race troops came out of nowhere and actually wanted to attack Wuxia city under the leadership of two demon kings. They probably saw that Wuxia city's geographical environment had an advantage. Moreover, they were relatively remote, so they wouldn't appear to be so ostentatious. However, as soon as they approached the Wuxia city with the demon army that they had gathered with great difficulty, they were directly burned to ashes by a flame that descended from the sky. Raging fire filled the sky. It was also at this moment that the imperial family of the Haike dynasty and the imperial family of the Xingyan dynasty caught a piece of news. That was, there was actually a sovereign realm meta beast in Wuxia city. How could no one have discovered such a terrifying existence before? With such a meta beast protecting Wuxia city, suddenly, the reputation of Wuxia city's Li family directly swept through the entire Xingyan dynasty. Countless people wanted to be a disciple of the Li family. Even if it was to be a guest elder or an outer disciple, it was not a problem. The most important thing was to be able to climb up the social ladder. With such a big backer, it would be a waste if they did not rely on it. However, it was already too late when these people wanted to curry favor with them. The Li family didn't care about these people joining them. They didn't even have any interest in the conditions promised by these people. However, a part of the Li family's disciples had secretly been sent to the original royal city, Sacred Flame Royal City, to enter the 3 major academies to learn and cultivate. The most important thing was to improve their intrinsic quality. Otherwise, the Li family couldn't only rely on a few meta beasts. Li Zongjio couldn't just rely on the Li family's support. Fortunately, Li Tianqing's management was good. The Li family's disciples didn't start to become arrogant. On the contrary, they were more disciplined. If they were found to be bullying others, regardless of whether it was right or wrong, they would first punish the Li family's disciples. If it was found that the Li family's disciples were causing trouble, the punishment would be quite severe. Although Li Zongjio had disappeared and kept a low profile for a long time, it was believed that when Evil Lord returned, he would be in a more aggressive state. Li Tianqing and the others of the Li family didn't know where Li Zongjio was now. They only said that he was going to find Qi Yinran, but he hadn't returned yet. They really didn't know what had happened. However, Li Tianqing and the others also knew that even if something happened to Li Zongjio, it would be difficult for them to help. After all, Li Zongjio's strength was obvious. If even Li Zongjio couldn't solve it, they couldn't do anything either. At this moment, Li Zongjio had already gone deep into the Eldritch Land. He had arrived at the core of the Eldritch Land. Here, even Li Zongjio didn't dare to take risks. Instead, he moved forward on foot and restrained his aura. Right now, they were passing through an incomparably withered and dark forest. When he got closer, Li Zongjio's aura began to be devoured by the dark forest around him. If he remembered correctly, this was also a forbidden area. Devouring Moon Forest. There was no day or night in the Devouring Moon Forest. The deeper one went into the forest, the darker the surroundings became. This made people even more afraid to approach the forest. Once there was any light, the countless devouring moon beasts hiding in the forest would come out in full force. Usually these devouring moon beasts were like fossils. They stayed in the same place and didn't move. However, once there was any light, they would launch a fierce attack. First, they would use the human wave tactic to drown the light. Then they would devour it. No matter what it was, they would swallow it into their stomachs until the light disappeared. Such a strange forest naturally became a forbidden area. Anyone who got close would die. This was because those who got close would not hesitate to light up their torches. Some of the more cunning ones would directly ignite their own yuan energy to illuminate the surroundings. When the surroundings were illuminated, they would be devoured in an instant. Countless mouths would rush up crazily and devour them completely. Li Zongjie walked very cautiously in this place. Although there was no light, and he couldn't see clearly, Li Zongjie's mental energy had already covered the surroundings. He immediately found the right direction and moved forward quickly. Boom! Li Zongjie's figure flashed rapidly in the darkness. This forest was indeed rather large. Even with Li Zongjie's quick pace, it still took him 3 full days to pass through the devouring moon forest. Gradually, light began to appear in front of him. These devouring moon beasts didn't care about the light outside this area. They only cared about the light that was under their jurisdiction. This was because the territory outside this area belonged to another meta-beast race. If they were to rashly cross this area, it would cause a catastrophe. It wasn't as simple as a war anymore. Instead, it was the location of a true catastrophe. However, just as Li Zongjie was about to leave this place, he suddenly heard an extremely weak sound not far away. Movement. The surroundings were supposed to be silent. But why was there a commotion? Suddenly the commotion accelerated. He quickly ran into the distance. Boom! Li Zongjie's figure also rushed in this direction without hesitation. Obviously, the sound was directed at him. The figure that was being chased seemed to realize that he couldn't escape from Li Zongjie's evil hands. He immediately turned around and threw a stone. Fuck! The stone didn't move at first. However, when it appeared 10 feet away from Li Zongjie, it suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. Chapter 1275. When this ray of light appeared, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. Li Zongjie knew that something bad was about to happen. Squeak! 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 The ground seemed to be moving. The light had awakened the Lunar Eater. Get lost! Li Zongjie knew that he didn't have much time left, so he suddenly burst out with a powerful force. The force of thunder instantly burst out from the ground, and the surrounding force instantly spread out like a rolling wave. However, all of these rolling waves were only palm-sized Lunar Eater. If he was delayed by these Moon-Eater beasts, he would be devoured in no time at all. One should know that these Moon-Eater beasts were extremely powerful, and their movements were extremely terrifying. Once bitten, it would be like being pulled by 10,000 elephants. Therefore, even an ordinary supreme being would find it hard to break free. Under Li Zongjie's crazy movements, he smashed a bloody path with the black dragon hammer. These Moon-Eater beasts did not know pain, nor did they know fatigue. They only knew how to charge forward, devouring everything that had happened. Even the bead had somehow managed to stay firmly attached to Li Zongjie's body. At the very least, it had maintained a certain distance from Li Zongjie, and had never been extinguished. With a flick of his finger, Li Zongjie shattered the bead in front of him. However, it was already too late. The Moon-Eater before him had already awakened, and locked onto Li Zongjie's aura. They had to devour Li Zongjie, until not even his bones were left. Only then would they stop. Fortunately, Li Zongjie's black dragon hammer was not to be trifled with. It landed with a loud bang, and immediately, an extremely terrifying tremor erupted. Countless bolts of lightning blasted the Lunar Eater beasts away. Rumble! While Li Zongjie was fighting to his heart's content, a figure swiftly left the devouring moon forest. The figure turned around to look at Li Zongjie, who was doing his best to fight, and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they did not catch up. But who is this guy? Is he here to assassinate me? No wonder grandfather told me not to go out recently. With that thought in mind, the figure quickly left the place. However, Li Zongjie's movement was quite huge. His aura was fierce as he fought his way out. Rumble! Li Zhongjiu brought his hammer and broke out of the encirclement. A few Lunar Eater rushed to Li Zhongjiu and bit Li Zhongjiu. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu felt as though his flesh was about to be bitten off by these rat-like Moon-Eater beasts. As his fists flew, the Moon-Eater beasts were sent flying. Fortunately, he was quite close to the edge of the forest. After half a minute of arduous progress, Li Zhongjiu finally managed to break out of the encirclement of the Moon-Eater beasts. When Li Zhongjiu left the devouring moon forest, the Lunar Eater beasts obediently retreated. Li Zhongjiu did not need to breathe a sigh of relief. If he had encountered these Lunar Eater beasts in the center of the Lunar Eater forest, even if Li Zhongjiu used all his moves, the probability of him coming out alive was less than 1 in 10. Therefore, he was considered lucky this time. However, someone else was not so lucky. Li Zhongjiu was not even in a hurry to recover from his injuries. He directly chased after the figure from before. During this period, Li Zhongjiu did not hold back. He directly locked onto the figure and swiftly attacked. Fortunately, the other party did not go far. It only took him 3 minutes to catch up with the figure. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's figure landed, blocking the person who was running wildly. What? The person obviously did not expect Li Zhongjiu to be able to escape from the Lunar Eater forest. He was shocked. He immediately shifted his body and fled into the distance. In the process, he also used some kind of talisman to increase his speed abruptly. Moreover, his movement also disturbed the aura within a radius of 1,000 feet. It was simply an escape tool. Ordinary people would not be able to figure out which direction they were running in. In the end, they would lose their target. It was quite powerful. It was a pity that Li Zhongjiu was not an ordinary person. This kind of escape trick was nothing in front of the experienced Li Zhongjiu. He instantly increased his speed and rushed to the back of the mysterious person. Under the horrified gaze of the mysterious person, he pushed his palm on his back. Boom! The man's figure flew out and crashed into the mud. This move was like the legendary head-on fall, which was exactly what it looked like. His 2 legs dangled outside and swayed non-stop. It took him a lot of effort to pull himself out. He did not give up. He took out something from his hand and prepared to release it and escape again. Li Zhongjiu pointed his sword at the mysterious person's head. "Come again and I'll chop you up," Li Zhongjiu said calmly. The person in front of him was wearing a black robe, and his body was wrapped tightly. He couldn't see his face clearly. The only thing that could be seen was a pair of eyes. In addition, there was a string of mini medicine basket wrapped around his waist. These baskets could be easily used to store herbs. It was like an open cloth bag. It was extremely convenient. However, the attributes of the storage ring were different. It did not require mental strength to open. From the looks of it, he should be an alchemist. Li Zhongjiu. Just as Li Zhongjiu was about to attack, the mysterious person in front of him called out his name. Moreover, the voice sounded a little familiar. "It's me." The mysterious person in front of him took off her mask, revealing a familiar and exquisite face. He really knew the person in front of him. In fact, he was very familiar with her. "Do Linger," Li Zhongjiu said in surprise. This girl seemed to have studied in the Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion for a period of time. Then, she said that she wanted to go back to her hometown. However, Li Zhongjiu knew that Do Ling-er's identity was not simple. He had guessed that Do Ling-er was from the Untainted Land. However, he did not expect that Do Ling-er had hidden her identity so well. Not only was she from the Untainted Land, but she was also from the depths of the Untainted Land. He did not know what kind of family she was from. Fortunately, he did not kill Do Ling-er with his sword. "I almost killed you." Chapter 1276. Fortunately, Li Zhongjiu withdrew his sword, and Do Ling-er recognized Li Zhongjiu in time. Otherwise, Do Ling-er might not have been able to wake up. "I thought something was chasing after me. Fortunately, you didn't die in there." Do Ling-er's face was also full of embarrassment. However, she was sent flying by Li Zhongjiu's palm. She was rolling on the ground, and at this moment, she was quite embarrassed to get up. "It's okay. It's just a small matter. What are you doing? Picking herbs?" Li Zhongjiu glanced at her and asked. Yes, I'm refining an elixir. I need the moon-devouring fruit, so I took the risk to pick some. Doling was naturally shocked by the commotion just now. She still had lingering fear in her heart. After all, this matter was not as simple as she had imagined. If there was even the slightest mistake just now, she would have been directly captured. Then there would not be any good ending. At that time, there would not even be a corpse left. You really don't want to live anymore by coming to such a place. Li Zhongjiu could not help but say. Doling also smiled foolishly. It's okay. As long as I'm careful, I'll be fine. Just as Li Zhongjiu and Doling were chatting, two rays of light were rapidly approaching from afar. Boom, boom. The momentum of the two had already reached the 8th grade sovereign realm. Few experts of the human clan could reach such a realm. Even in the chaotic sects outside, no one had seen such a scene before. Ling why are you running around by yourself again? Are you trying to make us old things anxious to death? A middle-aged man said sternly after he landed. At the same time, he looked at Li Zhongjiu in front of him with a cautious and questioning gaze. Obviously, they had never seen Li Zhongjiu before. Moreover, looking at Li Zhongjiu's appearance, he did not look like someone from the chaotic world. I wonder which clan this little brother is from. To be able to walk alone in such a place, one must not be an ordinary person. Moreover, this middle-aged man also observed Li Zhongjiu's aura and found that he was not simple. At the very least, he was at the 3rd grade, or even the 4th grade Supreme Being realm. To be able to have such a cultivation at such a young age was already quite a monster. So his attitude towards Li Zhongjiu was not too bad. Otherwise, if this Li Zhongjiu was just a little trash, he would definitely not have such a good attitude towards Li Zhongjiu. He would have directly driven Li Zhongjiu away. What kind of thing was this? How dare he mix around with their young miss? I am Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu was not a person who was purely pretentious. When introducing himself to others, he could not just say that he was evil lord. It was fine if he was an enemy, but since he was from Dolinger's clan, of course he had to give some face. Li Zhongjiu still understood this principle of being a person. Li Zhongjiu. The two looked at each other. In their memories, there was no surname of the Li clan. Could it be that this was a hidden ancient clan? 3rd uncle, 4th uncle. This is the person I always tell you about. Li Zhongjiu from the Xingyan dynasty's Bailu manor. He is very powerful. Doling saw that the two of them could not figure out Li Zhongjiu's identity and were still looking at him for a long time. So she simply said, Xingyan dynasty? Bailu manor? The two of them certainly did not remember Bailu manor, but when they talked about the Xingyan dynasty, they understood that Li Zhongjiu was actually a person from the Xingyan dynasty. Although they did not inquire much about the Saint Flame Empire, it was just a small empire after all. So what? Even if they boasted to the heavens, there might not be any great person who would appear in the Saint Flame Empire. It turned out that he was just a person from the Xingyan dynasty. Even if he was a talent, his future development would be very limited. The two of them were relieved and did not discriminate too much against Li Zhongjiu. After all, Li Zhongjiu was able to rely on his own efforts to improve his cultivation to the current level. It was also quite difficult for him. It also showed that Li Zhongjiu was a very talented person. If such a person was recruited into the clan, it would be a good thing. But if he wanted to touch the young miss, this matter would not be agreed. Okay, let's talk later. I still have something to do. Li Zhongjiu said. Since the experts in Dolinger's clan were here, there was no need to worry. Moreover, Dolinger had many strange magical weapons in her hands. With these magical weapons, she could escape from danger. Li Zhongjiu did not need to worry. It was rare to see an old friend in such a place, so he was quite happy. Okay, you can come to my house later. My house is near the Sky Suspension Mountain. When you arrive, you will be able to sense Little Yeya. The Little Yeya that Dolinger mentioned was the moon-howling heavenly wolf king. Yi Shiwen did not expect that this guy was still alive. Perhaps the moon-howling heavenly wolf king was quite restricted in such a place. Usually, it would not dare to take half a step out. If it was careless and encountered something when it went out, it would definitely be finished. If you come, Activate this rune stone near the Sky Suspension Mountain. We will naturally send someone to welcome you. Dou Ling, Er's third uncle, directly stepped forward and gave Li Zhongjiu a small yellow stone. Li Zhongjiu did not refuse and directly took it. After all, the moon-howling heavenly wolf king was a former loyal subordinate of Li Zhongjiu. More or less, he had to go and see this child. However, all of this had to wait until Li Zhongjiu found Qi Yanran on the spot. After receiving the talisman stone, Li Zhongjiu's figure also leaped and instantly disappeared in front of the three of them. Be careful on the way. Dou Ling, shouted at Li Zhongjiu's back. At the same time, she waved her hand. She did not expect that Li Zhongjiu could appear in this untainted land. Seeing Li Zhongjiu again and seeing her old friends, Dou Ling, missed them very much. You should stop interacting with these outside friends. It's not like you don't know that we are a family that has been passed down since ancient times. Our family's bloodline cannot be ruined by outsiders. Fourth uncle said somewhat tactfully. He was afraid that Dou Ling, would do something stupid. After all, the girl was still young, and there were too many liars and bad people out there. It was very common for her to be cheated by others if she was not careful. However, she must not take it lightly. Fourth uncle, what are you talking about? What are you thinking about? You are so wretched. Dou Ling, could not help but look at her fourth uncle with disdain. That's right, fourth brother. What are you saying in front of the child? Third uncle also sternly reprimanded. However, before Dou Ling, could feel happy, her third uncle spoke again. You will have a good time when you go back. Your grandfather has been looking for you like crazy. If he knows that you are in the devouring moon forest, just imagine how your grandfather will treat you. Ah, no way. Chapter 1277. Dou Ling, did not have the time to tell Li Zhongjiu. In fact, she believed him. The first sound. This surname was relatively rare. Therefore, when Dou Ling entered the Xingyan dynasty to train, she changed her name to Dou Ling. However, who knew that there were not many people with the surname Dou? It was difficult for Dou Ling, but this was nothing. Wait, if he goes further, he will be in the depths of the Eldritch Land. Where is he going? Dou Ling suddenly thought. Third uncle and fourth uncle were also startled awake. Coming from the Xingyan dynasty, didn't that mean that he came from the outside? He directly passed through the dangerous devouring moon forest and came to the vicinity of Sky Suspension Mountain. Now, he was even heading deeper. If he went further in, even the Du clan would not be willing to go near. They even directly forbade the clan members from setting foot in such a place. This was because if they rushed into such a place, the danger they would encounter was unimaginable and unpredictable. The degree of danger was very high. Li Zhongjiu was still going deeper. What was he going to do? Could it be that this kid wants to go through the Eldritch Land? To the sacred martial realm? How is that possible? Even the Du clan had been trying hard to break through the limits of their realm for so many years, so that one day, they could lead the Du clan to break through the limits of the Eldritch Land and directly attack the sacred martial realm, the legendary sacred martial realm. However, it seemed that this matter was a little far away. They had to make sufficient preparations. The more they experimented, the clearer they became that it was almost impossible to cross the last line of defense and the last region of the untainted land. In such an area, there were no longer any living creatures. There were only endless storms, frost, heavenly fire, burial, and destruction. This area was no longer a place to fight against humans or metabeasts. It was a real battle against the heavens and earth. Similarly, this natural barrier also directly isolated the people of the sacred martial realm. It was difficult for the people of the sacred martial realm to cross to this side. Even if there were, they would most likely be dead by the time they came. Even if they did not die, they would lose a layer of skin. This kind of thing was simply unpredictable. Third uncle and fourth uncle's eyes were also filled with shock. They couldn't possibly come all the way here to court death, right? Forget it. It's fine. Don't bother about that guy. That guy would never do something he's not confident in. Just let him be. I've plucked a lot of moon-devouring fruits this time. I can finally refine my pills. Clearly Dou Ling, was also very happy and excited. If a natural alchemist had to deal with herbs every moment of the day, they wouldn't find it boring. Instead, they would enjoy it. Because of this, Dolinger didn't have any worries. They were all immersed in alchemy, especially now that they had unlocked their alchemy talent. They could unleash their strength without restraint. When Li Zongjio comes, I'll definitely give him a big surprise, Dolinger thought. Then, under the escort of the two experts, they returned to the Sky Suspension Mountain. At this moment, Li Zongjio's figure had already landed on the top of a mountain. This mountain was more than 10,000 meters high. However, any other mountain behind this one was taller than this one. The clouds were directly trampled under their feet. Li Zongjio immediately saw that there seemed to be a strong wave of invisible release below. It was this force that caused the climate change within 10,000 miles to be quite special. It was enough to see that the environment below was actually changing the 4 seasons, which were constantly alternating. This kind of alternation was going on, changing the sky and the sun. This kind of array formation cultivation should have reached the divine level. Li Zongjio thought in his heart. The divine level. It was targeted at a certain skill or strength. For example, Li Zongjio's alchemy skills in his previous life had already surpassed the 9th grade and reached the divine level. As for the spirit formation before them, the person who had set up the spirit formation possessed a cultivation that surpassed God level. A divine level array formation master had set out. Even Dragon Island didn't have such a large-scale array formation. When Li Zongjio first went to Dragon Island, he wasn't surprised either. In such a small sparrow god palace, there was actually someone with such strength. Immediately Li Zongjio became vigilant. His figure landed. It was right in front of the clear pool that Fat and Skinny had described earlier. Under the pool, he could see an upside-down palace. Such a miraculous scene caused Li Zongjio to be slightly shocked. Upside-down universe formation. Li Zongjio also saw the difference in this array formation. If his array formation cultivation hadn't improved, he also wouldn't have been able to see the mystery behind it. After seeing it now, he was extremely shocked. Where are the people of Sparrow God Palace? Li Zongjio didn't come here to admire how ostentatious and magical Sparrow God Palace was. He came here to look for someone. Li Zongjio's voice reverberated, causing the pool in front of him to ripple. Some birds in the surroundings seemed to be startled and flew away. Other than that, there was no other movement. Li Zongjio frowned. Looks like you're forcing me to make a move. The unparalleled sword appeared in his hand. Then, Li Zongjio jumped up and slashed at the pool below. Boom! Sword chi rampaged. When this terrifying sword chi was released, it caused the surface of the pool to tremble. However, the sword chi was transferred to another place. This upside-down universe formation didn't only have the magical effect of landscape, it also had the effect of defense. Such an effect would play a considerable role in defense. Li Zongjio knew that he couldn't relax in the slightest when dealing with a formation of this level. Otherwise, he would be the one injured. Li Zongjio immediately circulated his yuan power. In the next moment, the blood dragon soul whizzed out along with his sword chi. Boom! The surface of the pool was like a mirror. It was directly scratched and broken. At the same time, a wave directly brought Li Zongjio in. Immediately, Li Zongjio felt that the world was spinning under his feet. He was brought in by the power of the array, and appeared outside the Sparrow Divine Palace. Beside him was the pool from before, surrounded by a vast and boundless plain. In front of him was a palace that wasn't very big. There was also a statue in front of the palace. It was difficult to tell whether it was a phoenix or a sparrow. It even had the characteristics of both. Li Zongjio was surprised that such a creature could exist. Since you don't want to show yourself, don't blame me for being impolite, Li Zongjio immediately said. However, just as Li Zongjio was about to continue attacking, a wave suddenly came from the front. After that, a beautiful woman in green clothes appeared not too far away from Li Zongjio. She looked at Li Zongjio with a cold gaze. Who is disturbing the forbidden area of Sparrow God Palace? Leave immediately. After the beautiful woman in green appeared, she also looked at Li Zongjio coldly. Chapter 1278. The beautiful woman in green's eyes seemed to be filled with endless frost. It was like a cold storm that could devour people at any time. Anyone who looked into such a pair of eyes would feel very uncomfortable. Such a state was not intentional. It was due to the cultivation technique she cultivated. It was enough to see through people's hearts. However, when the beautiful woman in green looked at the young man in front of her, it was as if she saw a mountain hidden in layers of fog. She could not see his origin, but she knew that Li Zhongjiu's cultivation was not simple. She could not be careless. "I'm looking for someone," Li Zhongjiu said. Since someone had shown up, it was easy to deal with. Otherwise, people would think that this place was abandoned. If Li Zhongjiu accidentally demolished this place, it would be troublesome. "The person you are looking for is not here. Please leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." The beautiful woman in green immediately condensed an ice sword in her hand. Cold light surged on the sword. However, Li Zhongjiu had already sensed that the desolate heaven essence was nearby. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's mental strength was like a condensed force that suddenly exploded. He immediately found the location of the desolate heaven essence. It was in this palace. Then, Li Zhongjiu's eyes immediately became murderous. "Bring Yanran out. Otherwise, don't blame me for flattening your Sparrow Divine Palace," Li Zhongjiu said coldly. The unparalleled sword also appeared in his hand. A bloody aura was released. Even the beautiful woman in green could not help but frown when she felt this aura. "Who are you?" Originally, the beautiful woman in green did not care who Li Zhongjiu was. She only wanted him to leave this place. However, Li Zhongjiu had called out Qi Yinran's name. For the beautiful woman in green, this was a little surprising. It was indeed the ability of the person in front of him to find this place. In fact, after hearing what Qi Yinran said, combined with the appearance of the young man in front of him, he had some guesses in his heart. "You're that Li Zhongjiu?" the beautiful woman in green said in surprise. "That's right. It seems that Yinran is here." Li Zhongjiu tried to use his mental strength to lock onto Qi Yinran's position, but the palace itself was covered by a large array, and Li Zhongjiu's mental strength could not penetrate it. "Yanran is receiving the inheritance of Sparrow Divine Palace." The beautiful lady in green glanced at Li Zhongjiu and said. At least, that was all she knew. At the same time, the beautiful woman in green turned around to look at the palace behind her. "Don't stay here. If you wake up the elder, the consequences will be unimaginable." "Impossible. The inheritance wouldn't take so long. You must have forced them to stay. Even during the inheritance, they could move freely. Do you really think I'm a 3-year-old child?" Li Zhongjiu said angrily. If it was an ignorant person, he would have been fooled by the beautiful woman in front of him. After all, it was really unclear whether they were receiving the inheritance or not. However, Li Zhongjiu was once a true venerable, so he was very clear about the methods of these inheritances. The so-called inheritance was just a digestion process. Therefore, there were no restrictions on Qi Yinran's movements. At least, it was not a problem for her to see Li Zhongjiu. If the other party insisted on blocking and hiding, then there was a problem. A sect like yours wants its disciples to sever their ties with the mortal world. I'm sure Yanran is unwilling, so you can imprison her, Li Zhongjiu said indifferently, and his tone was extremely indifferent. As an expert, this kind of thinking was very normal. Li Zhongjiu had seen many of these people's thoughts in his previous life, so he was quite clear about this. A trace of surprise flashed in the beautiful woman's eyes. She did not expect Li Zhongjiu to be able to say it so accurately, and it seemed like he knew them very well. "It's not what you think. You'd better leave quickly. When the time is right, Yanran will naturally come out to see you," the beautiful woman said. "Get out of the way. I don't want to hurt you. This has nothing to do with you. But if you insist on stopping me, don't blame me for being impolite." Li Zhongjiu's words were full of threats. The beautiful woman also knew that Li Zhongjiu was not joking. However, she was also quite anxious. If Li Zhongming was unwilling to leave, he would not be able to leave even if he wanted to if he really alarmed the elder. "Bing Ke, why don't you get rid of him?" Just as Li Zhongjiu was about to take action, an old melodious voice sounded. When the beautiful woman heard this voice, her body trembled. Leave quickly. The elder has already found you, Bing Ke quickly said to Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio looked arrogantly into the depths of the palace. Damn old woman, if you don't release my Yanran, don't blame me for being impolite. When the time comes, I will tear down this broken palace of yours. Let's see how you explain it to your ancestors. Li Zongjio sneered. This sentence naturally enraged the elder. Presumptuous. Suddenly, a terrifying aura swept out from the Peacock Palace. The sky and earth changed color. It seemed like there were thousands of rays of light rapidly condensing in front of them. Finally, these rays of light transformed into a figure. It was an old woman who looked to be at least 80 or 90 years old. She had a head full of silver hair. With every step she took, a tyrannical aura was released. You are Li Zongjio. You have been sincere enough to chase me here. Now turn around and leave. I can give you a good fortune. After the old woman appeared, the light on her body gradually converged. Finally, all the light disappeared. She was holding a walking stick in her hand. On the walking stick, there were countless birds carved. After appearing, the old woman was not in a hurry to kill Li Zongjio. In contrast, letting Li Zongjio take the initiative to leave and retreat was definitely better than killing Li Zongjio. After all, for Qi Yanran, it was better to recognize that these men in the secular world were not reliable. It was better than always having a thought. Haha, give me a good fortune. I'm afraid you don't know who I am. Li Zongjio was so angry that he laughed. She really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. She actually wanted to give him, the evil lord, a good fortune. It was true that the ignorant were fearless. If someone with the cultivation of his previous life dared to say this, Li Zongjio would have twisted his head off and stuffed it directly into his stomach to let him know what a good fortune was. Young man, it is not easy for you to have such a cultivation. Why sacrifice in vain? Qi Yanran is not someone you secular people can touch. In other words, you are not worthy of her. Do you understand? If you insist on not leaving, don't blame me for killing you to break Yanran's thoughts. Chapter 1279. The crutch in the old woman's hand suddenly fell to the ground, and a terrifying aura burst out, covering Li Zongjio. This kind of power surged rapidly. A trace of surprise flashed in Bing Ke's eyes. She never thought that the elder would directly attack Li Zongjio. This aura came directly from the pressure of a venerable. How could ordinary people withstand it? Even an ordinary 8th grade sovereign would not be able to withstand it. Elder. Bing Ke originally wanted to plead for Li Zongjio. However, she saw Li Zongjio's figure disappear from the spot, causing the elder's aura to fall directly into the air. It was as if she had punched directly into the air, and nothing happened. In the next moment, Li Zongjio's figure appeared in the air above the elder. Boom! Without saying a word, he directly slashed downwards with the terrifying aura of the unparalleled sword. Such a mighty movement immediately shocked the third elder of Sparrow Divine Palace. Although Li Zongjio's reaction speed was indeed very fast, it was still very fast. It was limited to surprise. Your reaction is quite fast, but so what? It still doesn't change the fact that you are immortal, the third elder said in a deep voice. Suddenly, a ray of light burst out from the crutch in his hand. This ray of light turned into a light wing that was dozens of feet long, and directly flung it towards Li Zongjio, who was in the sky. Boom! When this wing flapped, it was as if a gale that could stretch for tens of thousands of miles had been blown. Li Zongjio's figure directly turned into nothingness in this ray of light, and disappeared. Fake. The third elder was immediately shocked again. He did not know that Li Zongjio actually had such means. Not only did he use such a move, but he was also able to deceive the third elder. The third elder found it hard to believe. A mere mortal actually had such ability. Your reaction is too slow. Li Zongjio appeared in front of the third elder. The unparalleled sword was also directly slashed out without any hesitation. Sword chi swirled around the sword, surging brilliantly. At this moment, he was indeed locked down by Li Zongjio's sword. The third elder could only rely on his own elemental energy to block Li Zongjio's attack. Just as Li Zongjio was about to unleash his attack, Li Zhongjiu's third elder, could only rely on his own elemental energy to block Li Zhongjiu's attack. Boom! The third elder relied on his powerful yuan power to barely remain standing on the spot. It seemed as if he had not moved an inch. However, the impact of this sword caused the blood in his body to churn. The blood and qi in his body were boiling. However, he had to pretend to be calm on the surface in order to stabilize his condition. Cough cough. However, the third elder was also quite surprised. How could Li Zhongjiu disappear after making a move? Elder, be careful. Just as the third elder was feeling puzzled, he suddenly heard a voice that seemed to come from far away. It was Ice Sparrow's voice. But why did this voice sound so distant? Be careful? What was there to be careful of? The moment he raised his head, the third elder was immediately suppressed by a pagoda that descended from the sky. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's pagoda palm directly hit the third elder. The third elder immediately circulated his yuan power and forcefully shattered the pagoda palm around him. Buzz! However, even though the pagoda was easily destroyed by this palm strike, 8 more pillars appeared in its place. The third elder had only taken a glance at it before he knew that the array artifact's power was extraordinary. Soul-burning array. The third elder was shocked. He did not expect to be trapped in Li Zhongjiu's array. Unknowingly, he had fallen into Li Zhongjiu's array. Old woman, you're getting old. Are you a little useless? How do you feel about my strength as a mortal? Li Zhongjiu sneered. The demon-suppressing ruler was suspended above the array, constantly releasing the power of imprisonment, firmly trapping the third elder of Sparrow God Palace. You're courting death. The third elder, who was trapped in the array, was naturally very unconvinced. He wanted to directly break the array. However, even after using all his skills, he was still unable to do anything. He was unable to shake the burning soul array. After all, the refining of the burning soul pillar had cost Sky Wu a great deal of effort. Moreover, the third elder could not afford to be careless while staying in this array. This was because the surrounding energy was constantly devouring his spiritual strength. Ice Sparrow didn't expect things to develop to this point. It was really unexpected. What was even more unexpected was that Li Zhongjiu could actually trap the third elder. Although the third elder was the weakest among the elders, he was already in the honorable realm. According to the elder, his realm had already reached the peak of the Saint Martial continent. If he wanted to break through, he must leave the Saint Martial continent and go to the Saint Martial realm. The third elder, who had already reached the peak of the Saint Martial continent, was now trapped in the array by Li Zhongjiu. After being humiliated by Li Zhongjiu, the third elder, who had cultivated for hundreds of years, could not help but be angry. He wanted to tear this place apart and kill Li Zhongjiu. You better release the third elder, or don't blame me for being impolite. After seeing this scene, Bingke was already at a loss. She knew that she was definitely not Li Zhongjiu's opponent with her strength. Now there was no other way. She couldn't just watch the third elder fall into the hands of others. Save it, I'm too lazy to care about you. Go and call the other elders out. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to regret. Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. He did not bully the beautiful woman in green in front of him. Withered Leaf could feel that the beautiful woman in green was a very kind person who did not want to hurt others. She even felt weak when facing Li Zhongjiu's threats. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu appeared to be more polite. Otherwise, he would not have shown any mercy. Even if you were an 80-year-old woman, he would still treat you the same. It was obvious from Li Zhongjiu's resolute means. In the array, Li Zhongjiu looked at the stubborn third elder and added fuel to her fire. Now, she could feel an unprecedented pleasure in the array. No need, I'm here. A stooped figure appeared on the steps in front of the Sparrow Divine Palace. This person looked more than 100 years older than the third elder. He was ready to step into the coffin at any time. He was already so old, yet he was still presiding over the affairs of the Sparrow Divine Palace. The Burning Soul Pillar is made of Tianqian gold and Hunyuan stone. It can't be refined with the cultivation method of the human tribe. However, I don't sense the aura of the demon tribe on you. It seems that many demons have fallen in your hands. You and I are kindred spirits. What can't we talk about? The person who appeared was the second elder of the Sparrow Divine Palace. Chapter 1280. After the second elder appeared, he directly walked around the burning soul array. He was actually able to tell that this array was not Li Zhongjio's. It seems like the god-level array master is you. You should know your limits at your age. Return Yanran to me. Li Zhongjio said nonchalantly. He wasn't there to incur the wrath of the people of Sparrow Divine Palace. However, if these people insisted on making an enemy out of Li Zhongjio, they shouldn't blame Li Zhongjio for being ruthless. No matter what the reason was, dying at the hands of evil lord wasn't an injustice. I have only inherited my master's legacy and have yet to reach the god level. Since you know your limits, can you give me some face and let my junior sister go first? That would be a show of sincerity. The second elder's attitude was extremely amiable. However, there was some worry in the eyes of the ice sparrow. Although the three elders were very strict during training, only the second elder's murderous aura was 100 times more powerful under the gentleness. Therefore, the ice sparrow was extremely respectful to the second elder. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Li Zhongjio waved his hand and sucked the burning soul array into the fiery hell. He wanted to let the third elder have a good taste of the endless flames. When the second elder saw that Li Zhongjio not only refused to let them go, but also directly put them away along with the formation, he knew that Li Zhongjio was definitely a difficult person to deal with. Given your burning soul array, it will take you at least 500 years to refine my junior sister. If we are in a deadlock, it doesn't matter if I don't see my junior sister for 500 years. However, can you not see your Yanran for 500 years? The second elder's tone gradually turned cold. He wanted Li Zhongjio to back off. Ha 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 ha, old fart, you think too highly of yourselves. How long do you think it will take to tear down your Sparrow Divine Palace? Li Zhongjio suddenly burst into laughter. He recalled the time when he had inflicted heavy losses on the Dragon Island. He was so arrogant. In the end, these thousands of dragon experts chased him all over the sky. After that, almost all of them were killed by Li Zhongjio. After that, no one dared to follow him. In the end, Li Zhongjio left. It seemed that he had been too amiable, causing these people to think that he was easy to negotiate with. Li Zhongjio did not waste any more words as he circulated his elemental energy in his palm. Immediately, a surge of aura condensed, and such a sharp force directly blasted towards the second elder. However, the second elder was also very vigilant. After getting close to Li Zhongjio, he also wanted to make a move and directly cripple Li Zhongjio. Boom! Their palms collided in an instant, causing an extremely strong vibration. Li Zhongjio pushed his left hand behind him, directly dispersing the force that had entered his body. After all, the second elder was a peak sovereign expert, and he had the strength of the demon clan. In terms of physical strength, he was even more terrifying than Li Zhongjio. However, with this move, Li Zhongjio's soul-slaying flying dagger also followed the momentum and directly flew towards the second elder. Boom! The flying dagger's momentum was swift and violent. The flying dagger's body was directly hidden in the void. The second elder sensed the movement around him, and a dangerous aura rapidly approached him. He knew that Li Zhongjio had made a secret move. However, even though the second elder quickly withdrew his defensive posture, he was still directly injured by Li Zhongjio's move. The power of the soul-slaying flying dagger directly pierced a hole in the mental energy of the second elder of Sparrow God Palace. Just such a hole would require the second elder to spend at least 100 years and energy to repair it. It was not an easy task. You are courting death. The second elder no longer hid his mental energy origin after his body was injured. Immediately, the elemental energy in his body roared out crazily and directly condensed into a huge figure behind him. When this figure appeared, it was immediately accompanied by a wild wave of elemental energy. Boom! Li Zhongjio had nowhere to hide when this move landed. Roar! With a furious roar, the golden dragon's Yuan spirit directly entangled the second elder's body, and the huge dragon entangled the Sparrow God Palace. The entanglement between the two of them was even more chaotic. You can actually use the Dragon Clan as your Yuan spirit. You have killed the Dragon Clan. The second elder was obviously quite shocked. He could not believe that Li Zongjio had actually killed the Dragon Clan. Otherwise, how could the Yuan spirit power appear? Even if it was innate, it could not be produced. However, Li Zongjio did not reply to the second elder's nonsense. This was a life-and-death battle. Then Li Zongjio released the Blood Dragon Yuan spirit again. Black Dragon Hammer. The Black Dragon Hammer roared. Li Zongjio violently swung it forward. The Black Dragon Hammer was first blocked by a golden light. The second elder was entangled by the 3 Yuan spirits of the Dragon Clan. There was also a White Dragon Yuan spirit that directly trapped the second elder's mental energy. When the second elder saw that the Black Dragon Hammer dared to attack the Divine Hall of Sparrow God Palace, he sneered. You want to destroy my Divine Hall of Sparrow God Palace? Do you think you are strong enough? In the next instant, an ominous glint suddenly erupted from the Black Dragon Hammer. As this glint rapidly surged out, a black dragon also appeared. The Black Dragon Yuan spirit was many times stronger than the 3 Yuan spirits combined. Unknowingly, it had almost recovered to its peak state. Therefore, when this power emerged, even Li Zongjio was surprised. It seemed that the Black Dragon Yuan spirit had been tempered very well by the Black Dragon Hammer. He had to find an opportunity to put the other 3 Yuan spirits into the Black Dragon Hammer. Boom! The Black Dragon appeared and slammed down with its claws. Immediately, an earth-shattering sound was heard. Even the pool beside him was stirred up by the impact, creating waves that were thousands of feet high. Ice Sparrow, who was watching the battle from the side, was also forced back by this attack. From this, it could be seen how powerful this attack was. After the Black Dragon Yuan spirit appeared, it directly destroyed one of the 3 divine halls of Sparrow God Palace. Boom! When the building was smashed to smithereens, they could clearly feel the second elder's rage skyrocketing. Li Zongjio, the people of Sparrow God Palace will definitely make you die a horrible death. We will turn you into ashes. We will crush your bones and scatter your ashes. The second elder was so angry that he blurted out a few idioms to express his anger. However, Li Zongjio had heard such harsh words many times. Oh, you are very stubborn. Then I will destroy another one. Li Zongjio's lips curled into a sinister smile. When it came to fighting, Li Zongjio had never lost. It was just a matter of who would die first. Li Zongjio immediately summoned the Black Dragon Yuan spirit and flew towards another divine hall. The second elder was enraged. However, the power of the 3 Yuan spirits that trapped him was quite strong. It was difficult for him to break free. At the same time, Li Zongjio brandished the unparalleled sword. A shocking sword aura flew out from the unparalleled sword and slashed towards the second elder. Boom! The sword aura swept across. The second elder could only force out a Yuan spirit to defend himself. 1,000 Sparrow Armor. Boom! The unparalleled sword aura was blocked, but there were a few more cracks on the 1,000 Sparrow Armor. Just as Li Zongjio was about to continue his attack, the Sparrow God Palace in front of him shook violently. The Black Dragon Yuan spirit, who was about to attack, was hit by a 5-colored ray of light. Bang! The Black Dragon Yuan spirit returned to the Black Dragon Hammer. Then the Black Dragon Hammer was sent flying by the force. Bang! The direction in which the hammer was flying from just happened to be smashing towards Li Zongjio's head. He took advantage of the momentum and sent the Black Dragon Hammer flying. Another supreme martial artist had come to attack. You have angered the Sparrow God Palace. Li Zongjio, the Sparrow God Palace will be irreconcilable with you. You will never see Qi Yinran again. The voice seemed to come from a more distant world. It came over layer by layer. At the same time, Li Zongjio raised his head and saw a heavy ancient bell. It was filled with an ancient aura. Suddenly, it fell from the sky and fell towards Li Zongjio. This bell? Li Zongjio clearly felt that the power around him was sealed. It was difficult for him to escape. The bell fell to the ground, instantly suppressing Li Zongjio. Boom! Dong! The heavy sound almost shook the sound waves to tens of millions of miles away. The whole untainted land could hear the sound of the bell. All the cultivators could clearly feel their souls being violently shaken. Chapter 1281. Boom! Li Zongjie was trapped under the giant bell. Li Zongjie recognized the cauldron bell just now. It was the legendary chaotic origin bell. Li Zongjie had only heard about the power of the chaotic origin bell in his previous life. He had never seen it for himself. After all, there were too many unknown things in the field of power. Li Zongjie couldn't try everything. Moreover, although Li Zongjie had reached the peak in his previous life, it was only during that period, a period that belonged to him. Whether it was before or after, there might be people whose strength surpassed Li Zongjie, and some unimaginably powerful existences would appear. The chaotic origin bell was one of them. Li Zongjie was trapped in it. The chaotic origin bell was a world of its own. If no one opened the door to lead the way, one would be trapped in the chaotic origin bell forever. Even with Li Zongjie's current cultivation, it was very difficult for him to open it. The primordious bell fell to the ground. This was a very large lump of iron. The figure of the Great Elder emerged from the primordious bell. Given the power of the chaotic Yuan bell, even the Great Elder of Sparrow Divine Palace would have to use all his strength to unleash the chaotic Yuan bell. Senior sister, why are you doing this? Could it be that with our strength it's still not enough to kill him? Why do you have to pay such a huge price to trap him in the chaotic origin bell? The second elder was puzzled. That child's strength is extraordinary. Even if the two of us were to join hands and kill him, we would not be able to stop him if he wanted to escape. The first elder let out a deep sigh. He had never thought that there would be such a powerful person in this place. He was so difficult to deal with. This man has 4 dragon souls. He must have a terrifying background. The first elder's eyes were also filled with surprise. Obviously, he was very surprised by Li Zongjie's cultivation and good fortune. Looking at the Sparrow Divine Palace, one of the palaces had actually been torn down after the two of them had joined hands. This Li Zongjie was actually a man of his word. Li Zongjie deserves to die for destroying the palace of Sparrow God Palace that has existed for 100,000 years. The second elder couldn't wait to grind Li Zongjie's bones to dust. But now, he was trapped inside the primordial bell. The people inside couldn't come out, and the people outside couldn't go in. He will be honest after being locked up for 100 years. During this time, Qi Yanran can also accept this reality. Moreover, in the primordial bell, he can't open his domain. Naturally, the safety of third junior sister will not be affected. The eldest senior sister was indeed the eldest senior sister. She had considered everything before making a move. Wait, where's the ice sparrow? Just as the two of them were discussing how to deal with Li Zongjie, a new situation occurred. In the blink of an eye, they discovered that the ice sparrow had disappeared. Most importantly, the ice sparrow had gone missing. The great elder immediately recalled carefully and quickly came to a realization. Oh no, the ice sparrow has been brought into the primordial bell by Li Zongjie. The great elder's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. Li Zongjie was indeed difficult to deal with. He had actually taken the ice sparrow hostage before she had been captured. Before Qi Yanran had appeared, the ice sparrow had been carefully cultivated as a successor with an extremely noble bloodline. However, her talent was still inferior to Qi Yanran's, so she hadn't been able to come into contact with the true inheritance of the ancestral sparrow. However, the ice sparrow herself was the next sect master of Sparrow Divine Palace. How could she have been abducted by Li Zongjie? This was unbelievable. Where had Li Zongjie cultivated his reaction speed? It was so fast that it was unexpected. No one could imagine how Li Zongjie's strength had reached such a high level. He was simply a freak. Now, he had even taken the ice sparrow hostage. It was hard to say whether Li Zongjie would do anything excessive. However, it was too late now. If they rashly opened the primordial bell, they wouldn't be able to bring the ice sparrow out. The situation in front of them was extremely awkward. It was difficult to make a choice. If this brat dares to hurt the ice sparrow, I will definitely make him pay a painful price. When Li Zongjie was mentioned, this second elder had always been in a state of gnashing his teeth in hatred. He wanted to kill Li Zongjiu, but it seemed that he didn't have the strength to do so. If the great senior sister could fully control the primordial bell, it wouldn't be difficult to destroy Li Zongjiu. However, the problem was that it wasn't easy to control the primordial bell. It had been hundreds of years since the primordial bell fell into the hands of the Sparrow Divine Palace. However, they only had the most rudimentary control over it. They could only use it to trap people. When I further comprehend the mystery of the primordial bell, I will be able to comprehend the killing array. When that time comes, Li Zongjiu won't be able to escape even if he has wings. I can only let the ice sparrow stay in the primordial bell. If anything happens to the ice sparrow, I won't let him off easily. After talking for a long time, however, there was no other way to deal with Li Zongjiu. The only way now was to wait for Qi Yinran to completely forget about Li Zongjiu after 100 years. At that time, Qi Yinran should have completed the comprehension of the inheritance. It was obvious that people like Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran didn't belong to the same world. The fate between the two of them would naturally come to an end. They didn't even need to intervene. Based on the current situation, it would be extremely difficult to stop the two of them. Li Zongjiu, who was trapped in the primordial bell, naturally couldn't escape. Even if Li Zongjiu was given hundreds or thousands of years, he wouldn't be able to get out of the primordial bell so easily. If one had to describe how difficult it was to get out of the primordial bell, it would be like this. For example, if a God-grade array was superimposed with another God-grade array, the difficulty of breaking the array would be 10 times that of unraveling a single God-grade array. The superimposition of 3 God-grade arrays would be 100 times more difficult. Being trapped in the primordial bell was equivalent to being trapped in a chain of 10 God-grade arrays. Unless the Great Elder took the initiative to release Li Zongjiu wouldn't be able to get out for the rest of his life. Of course, this was only the Great Elder of Sparrow Divine Palace's understanding. However, this wasn't the case for Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu landed on the ground. The ground under his feet was no different from the ground in the untainted land. It had the same texture. However, this was no longer the untainted land. It was the world of the primordial bell. Just like Li Zongjiu's infernal world, it was an independent state. He tried to open his own fiery hell, but found that it was restricted. This was because the world in the primordial bell was in an imperfect state. It was impossible to open the door to another world in an imperfect world. In that case, the original world would collapse. Once it collapsed, Li Zongjiu didn't know where it would go. He didn't know either. Plop. Another sound was heard. Bing Ke looked around in surprise. She didn't expect that she would be caught by Li Zongjiu into the world of the primordial bell. Why do you want to involve me? The ice sparrow looked at the surrounding environment and immediately became quite angry and furious. This Li Zongjiu was really too much. Not only did he get caught, but now he even dragged her down with him. What kind of person was he? You can also see how important you are in the hearts of these old things. After Li Zongjiu finished speaking, he directly sat cross-legged and began to meditate. During this process, he also took the opportunity to recuperate from the battle just now. How dare you recover in front of me? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Bing Ke said coldly. However, Li Zongjiu didn't answer her at all. She raised her sword and finally put it down helplessly. She had been cultivating for more than 300 years. However, she hadn't killed a single fish in these 300 years. How could it be possible to kill a person rashly? Chapter 1282. The ice sparrow didn't fight, so she didn't need to recover. She had long heard that the Great Elder had a treasure in her hand. But she never thought that this magic weapon would be so powerful. What was even more unexpected was that she was actually trapped in this magic weapon by the Great Elder. It was obviously impossible to break free from this magic weapon, so the ice sparrow simply strolled around here. The landscape was not bad. However, the range of this mountain was only a mere 10 miles wide. Outside of 10 miles, it was occupied by a chaotic force. If one wanted to get close to this chaotic force, they would immediately be deterred by its power. There was even a feeling of destruction coming, which made the ice sparrow vigilant. If she was caught in this chaotic force, she would be instantly strangled. Other than that, there was no other movement. There weren't even any creatures nearby. It wasn't a barren land, but there was no vitality. The sky seemed calm, but if one soared into the sky, they would still encounter these chaotic barriers at a certain height. The slightest carelessness would cause them to be caught in this chaotic force. Therefore, the surrounding situation was quite dangerous for them. After wandering around, the ice sparrow returned to Li Zhongjie. Now that she was trapped in such a place, the only creature who could speak was Li Zhongjie. And the one who brought her in was this damn Li Zhongjie. Of course, she had to rely on him. It's all your fault. How can we get out in such a place? The ice sparrow was simply aggrieved. Li Zhongjie opened his eyes. At this moment, his state had been adjusted to the peak. After all, with the elixir in hand, recovering this bit of consumption was naturally not a problem. What a big deal. The Chaos Bell is a world of its own. Unless one can master the power of the Chaos Bell, they can't get out. In my opinion, your great elder has only mastered the power of the Chaos Bell. In other words, even if she wants to let people out, she doesn't know how to do it. Li Zhongjie shook his head and said, it was a bit too much for him to show off in front of an expert with such half-baked skills. However, it was worth mentioning that Li Zhongjie had a chance. Not only could he refine the primordial bell from the outside, but he could also refine it even if he was inside the primordial bell. Among them, the chaotic force was an extremely important force. What are you talking about? Where are you going? Ice Sparrow saw Li Zhongjie get up and walk towards the edge of the world. The Ice Sparrow naturally followed Li Zhongjie's footsteps. When she saw Li Zhongjie land here, she was slightly surprised. She didn't understand why Li Zhongjie would come to such a place. It's dangerous here. The chaotic force here is enough to crush you to pieces. The Ice Sparrow didn't know what was wrong with Li Zhongjie. He actually took the initiative to walk towards the edge of the world. If he rashly approached the chaotic force, he wouldn't be able to withstand the destruction of the chaotic force, no matter how strong his cultivation was. How is it possible to control the primordial bell without coming into contact with the chaotic force? How can one control power if one is so afraid of death? In fact, Li Zhongjie had enough time to escape from the primordial bell back then. If one wanted to trap Li Zhongjie at all costs, even if one had the primordial bell, one might not be able to succeed. However, Li Zhongjie had some understanding of the primordial bell. At the same time, he really wanted to obtain the primordial bell. However, he hadn't been able to find the primordial bell's whereabouts after searching the mountains and rivers. Although this action was risky, it was worth a try. Therefore, Li Zhongjie allowed the great elder of Sparrow Divine Palace to take him into the primordial bell. He wanted to properly absorb the chaotic force. It was impossible to find the chaotic force outside the primordial bell. Are you courting death? You will die. Come out quickly. The Ice Sparrow exclaimed when she saw Li Zhongjie walking towards the edge of the primordial bell. Obviously, she didn't understand Li Zhongjie's actions. However, Li Zhongjie didn't care at all when his palm came into contact with the violent chaotic force. His palm was directly destroyed by the chaotic force. Boom! Li Zhongjie's skin and flesh were completely destroyed in an instant. Only his bones, which were protected by the golden dragon true spirit, were left intact. Amazing! Li Zhongjie took back his hand and placed it in front of his body. Looking at his completely destroyed palm with only white bones left, the Ice Sparrow was so frightened that she covered her eyes. Such a cruel cultivation method was not cultivation at all. It was self-mutilation, seeking one's own death, and asking for trouble. Do you want to die? Go to the side and play. Li Zhongjie urged his Yuan Li to restore his palm. Then, he propped up his Yuan Li and directly rushed into the chaotic force. The Ice Sparrow exclaimed. This was tantamount to suicide. Why would Li Zhongjie do this? Could it be that he knew that he would never be able to get out if he was trapped in the primordial bell? So, he used this method to end his own suffering. It was really stupid. Li Zhongjie, why are you doing this? As long as you surrender and admit defeat to the elders will be magnanimous and forgive you. The Ice Sparrow murmured. But no matter what, Li Zongjio had directly drilled his head into the primordial bell. It was too late to say anything. There was no way to bring him back. Even if the ice sparrow rushed in, her end would be the same. She might even die faster than Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio's figure instantly disappeared into the boundless chaotic energy that filled the sky. The ice sparrow also stayed in place. She didn't believe that Li Zongjio was such a suicidal person. He must be doing something special, so he directly rushed in. Maybe he could still come out. However, even the ice sparrow didn't believe this. Being drawn into such a place with so much chaotic force, even if a venerable expert came, his end would be the same. It was impossible to come out alive. It would only take a few seconds for his body to be smashed into pieces. A good young man committing suicide for love was really not worth it. The ice sparrow thought helplessly in her heart. This was the only thing she could do. She couldn't help much. If she was lucky, Li Zongjio could still leave behind some relics. The ice sparrow could help to clean up. However, at this moment, Li Zongjio wasn't as miserable as the ice sparrow thought. When Li Zongjio drilled in, his own strength also suffered a strong impact. However, Li Zongjio also operated his own cultivation method to the extreme. All the major cultivation methods were activated in his body. He even directly used the chaotic force to open a new hell in an instant. Chaotic hell. Chapter 1283. The Chaotic Hell. It was exactly because of the omnidirectional hell that Li Zongjio was able to last so long in the boundless chaotic force. Interesting. Li Zongjio's surroundings surged with golden light. He immediately sensed the appearance of the power as he sat there. The great destructive force directly passed through Li Zongjio's body, but Li Zongjio's body was constantly recovering at the same time. Every time he recovered, a sliver of chaotic force would appear in Li Zongjio's body. In the end, the chaotic force would turn into chaotic force and fuse with Li Zongjio's body. He used such an extremely primitive method to refine his own chaotic body. The chaotic body, using such a primitive method, was extremely cruel. First of all, the cultivator had to experience the pain of reconstructing their body countless times. It was not something that anyone could endure. At the same time, they had to ensure that they did not die so easily as their body was constantly being reconstructed. If they died by accident, there would be no future. Only Li Zongjio was confident in that. He continued to cultivate in the chaos, using his own cultivation method to store the boundless chaos force into his own hell of chaos. The chaotic hell was of the same attribute as the chaotic force, so they were connected. Amidst this endless tempering, Lin Fan did not know how much time had passed. Bing Ke was also waiting for Li Zongjio to appear in the outside world. However, it seemed like Li Zongjio had really died in the chaos. Nothing unexpected happened. Ice Sparrow also tried to cultivate beside the primordial chaos. The surrounding desolation and boredom also made the Ice Sparrow feel numb. How long has it been? There's no indication of time here. Ice Sparrow couldn't help but think in her heart. She couldn't feel the passage of time, but judging from the degree of hunger in her stomach, at least 6 months had passed. It had been half a year. She had been trapped here for half a year. If the Great Elder and the others were going to imprison Li Zongjio for over 100 years, she would have to stay here for over 100 years. She would still have to wait for an extremely long time. At least it was impossible for her to get out right now. Compared to Bing Ke's wait, this was still considered good. At least the surrounding environment was rather comfortable. The third elder of the Sparrow God Palace, who was trapped inside the soul-burning formation, could feel the endless pain of being burned. Even the heavens couldn't respond to his cries. He had to endure the pain of being burned all the time. He had never thought that he would be reduced to such a state one day. On this day, the Ice Sparrow was also cultivating at the edge of the chaotic chi. As she was cultivating at the edge of the chaotic chi, the Ice Sparrow could feel her cultivation advancing by leaps and bounds. Although it was a little dangerous, the effect was not bad. However, during the process of cultivation, the Ice Sparrow suddenly opened her eyes and opened her mouth wide. Oh my God! The Ice Sparrow sat on the spot, not daring to move in the slightest. It turned out that during the cultivation process earlier, for some reason, the surrounding chaotic force had suddenly formed a tornado. At this moment, the ice sparrow was right in the middle of the tornado formed by the chaotic force. How could this be? The current situation could be said to be quite critical. Bing-Ke was at a loss. How could this be? At that moment, the ice sparrow was trapped in the primal chaos energy and was unable to escape. However, something even more frightening occurred. The primal chaos tornado was rapidly shrinking. At this moment, it had already shrunk to a rather narrow range. If this continued, the ice sparrow would be smashed to pieces and buried in the chaos. Rumble! At this critical moment, a figure suddenly walked out of the chaotic energy. The appearance of this figure made the ice sparrow involuntarily rub her eyes. Let's go! Li Zongjio, who was covered in chaotic chi, directly grabbed Bing-Ke's hand, then stretched out his palm and slashed forward. Immediately, the primal chaos force turned into a wave of energy and scattered to the sides. A path was forcibly opened up. Then, Li Zongjio walked out with Bing-Ke back. The ice sparrow didn't believe that Li Zongjio was still alive. From the looks of it, he seemed to be able to move freely in the chaotic force. If he was still alive after half a year, he must have undergone a qualitative transformation. The two of them escaped from the chaotic chi. Bing-Ke heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the clear sky again. If it were not for Li Zongjio, she would have died in there. You, how did you do it? Bing-Ke reacted and looked at the man beside her, who was in an extremely turbid state. She was quite shocked. At the same time, she looked at Li Zongjio in disbelief. Phew! How long did it take me? Li Zongjio took a deep breath and adjusted his body's condition. At this moment, the color of his body that was constantly changing also gradually faded. In the end, Li Zongjio's body also returned to its normal state. However, because everything in the chaotic chi was broken into pieces, Bing-Ke exclaimed when she saw Li Zongjio's state. She covered her eyes and turned around. About half a year, Bing-Ke said shyly. Li Zongjio looked at Bing-Ke, who was making a fuss about nothing. She was already so old. Was there a need to be so shy? Then, he slowly took out a set of clothes from his storage ring and put them on. Li Zongjio had hundreds of similar sets of clothes stored in his storage ring. They were all of the best quality and the most exquisite embroidery. However, on the surface they were quite low-key. It's already been half a year. It's time to go out and settle accounts with those two old things. A cold glint flashed across Li Zongjio's eyes. Li Zongjio wasn't going to let go of the grudge of using the primordial Yuan Bell to trap him here. Although Li Zongjio's cultivation had not broken through in the past 6 months, and he still maintained his original state, his body had undergone a qualitative transformation. Li Zongjio's body had been forcefully transformed into the chaotic body. After staying in the primal chaos chi for such a long period of time, his body was continuously being destroyed and reshaped. Other than the pain he experienced every day and night, his body had also undergone a great transformation. The chaotic body, Li Zongjio's chaotic body, was not very complete. However, at the very least, Li Zongjio's body contained a strand of chaotic chi. Although the surrounding chaos storm seemed endless, the truth was that there were only 3 strands of chaos chi in the entire primordial bell. Even after spending so much time, Li Zongjio had only managed to refine a single strand. If he could control the 3 strands of chaotic chi, he would truly be able to control the chaos bell. However, it seemed like the Grand Elder of Sparrow Divine Palace had not even grasped half of the chaos bell's essence. As a result, Li Zongjio had already seized control of the chaos bell. We are trapped here. If the Grand Elder refuses to let us out, we definitely won't be able to get out. Bing-Ke heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Li Zongjio put on his clothes again. Bing-Ke had been extremely nervous earlier. How could this person be so shameless? Can't get out. Do you think I've been slacking for the past 6 months? Li Zongjio squatted down, as if he was grabbing onto an edge and lifting it up with all his might. Rumble! The entire world within the chaos bell began to tilt. It was as if the entire world had been moved. At the same time, a ray of light appeared in front of them. Bing K quickly sensed the aura from the light. It was the aura of Sparrow Divine Palace. What are you waiting for? Let's go, Li Zongjio said. Then the two of them rushed out. When Bing K and Li Zongjio returned to Sparrow Divine Palace, they realized that the chaos bell had appeared out of thin air. Rumble. As the two of them landed, the chaotic Yuan bell also fell to the ground. However, the scene in front of them shocked both Ice Sparrow and Li Zongjio. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.